Center project for this budget year. As I mentioned, the part of the project that is funded is the design. The council has not yet made a decision on whether to proceed with construction or to fund the construction. That probably would happen in about January. So we are here to engage in some design discussion with you. Mike, why don't you go ahead to that next slide? Thanks so much. This is just a quick sense of where we are. As I mentioned, the approval to proceed with the design portion of the project is complete. That did happen in July. We also, at the council's direction, formed a committee of community members that will be helping us as a task force to advise on this project. You can see the names of your neighbors and friends right here. And I am very pleased to say that I think a majority of these names are on the call tonight. So welcome, task force members. Thanks for coming and hearing all of this for yourselves. We really appreciate your willingness to be of service. Where we are is that yellow highlighted portion. We are in the community engagement process for design direction. That is now. We will be soliciting design feedback in public meetings through next week. And then we have direction from the City Council to return to their meeting on September 9th with design for final approval. And at that point, the council could approve the design as is. The council could reject the design in its entirety or could approve one of the designs with some edits to it. So we are here to get your feedback, and Director Throne will reiterate that to you as I turn the meeting over to him. So without any further ado, why don't I go ahead and do that? Director Throne, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Well, thank you, Madam City Manager. This is a great project. I'm very excited to be talking about it with you. As the Design Review Committee might recall, I've come to you 2 other times before, once with the Lacey Park restroom and once with the Lacey Park Rose Arbor. So I'm very happy to be here again with another fabulous project to get to construction here in San Marino. The San Marino Center, you all realize it's been around since the very early 1950s. And what we're looking to do with the building is really to keep it like it is. The use of the building will remain unchanged. It's hosted events and activities and celebrations for 68 years, and we are really looking to continue that, but continue it with a building that's been remodeled and refreshed and a little less tired than it currently is. One of the things that we were really considering in the beginning was to whether or not to do a wholesale tear down and redo. And really, the best project that we can come up with is to keep the building at its same shape. It's very important to retain its integrity. It also keeps the cost to a very manageable level. Regardless of what we do with the building, whether we severely modify its exterior or its interior, there's some very basic things that will need to be done to it. The first and the one that's very time-consuming and detailed is going to be making it an accessible building. If you've had the pleasure of going to an activity or an event in San Marino Center, you'll know that it's just not really very accessible for people who are disabled. And so that's a major correction that has to occur for it to be continued to be used by the city as a public building. All of its building mechanical systems, its electrical systems and whatnot are old and obsolete. And anything that we do inside the building or outside the building is really going to necessitate a wholesale replacement. Many of the features inside are really original to the building. There are 4 furnaces in the building. We don't quite know why, except that it just probably needed to have 4 furnaces, and that's something obviously that we would be changing, is making the building an energy efficient, comply with current energy codes, and make it as sustainable as we can. This is, as Dr. Marlowe briefly mentioned, this has been on the City Council's radar for 2 years. It is a priority project for them, and they've granted me the opportunity to bring this project forward. So in thinking about this building, and this is really the meat of our discussion with the committee both tonight and with other um, groups is, what would you like to see done to this building as a remodel? There are a variety of things that we can do, but the Design Review Commission, I think, especially sees pretty much every remodel that occurs in San Marino, and so we're kind of looking toward you as some insight and some guidance from your experience of seeing many buildings in San Marino be revised, be rejuvenated, be renovated, and be remodeled. So we came up with a series of questions that will help us understand what the community is interested in reshaping this building, and then be able to translate that to an architectural plan that we can bring to the council on September 9th. I would like to mention that Rick Crane, who's the principal and owner of Crane Architectural Group, is on our Zoom call, and he will be taking, I'm sure, copious notes in architectural language. So feel free to use your terminology. We have 7 questions here. One of the ones that stands out as being one of the biggest questions is an exterior question. We have a building that is very faithful to mid-century. It was designed in 1950 by a local architect who's known for mid-century public buildings. We have that in our palette, but then at the same time, we have nearby buildings that have an architectural Spanish style. So that's something to think about is what would be a community preference? What would be your insight as to revert the building and really bring it back to its full mid-century glory, or restyle it? If you've ever gone out and used the San Marino Center, you'll know that while the front of the building is fairly friendly as it relates to its landscaping and the giant oak trees, and the fact that it really does look like a residential building. The sides and rear of the building are very industrial, which is very consistent for mid-century architecture, but it is also a very uninviting outdoor space. And it might be very advantageous to create outdoor spaces that can be used for events and gatherings that occur at the San Marino Center, much like what happens at the library. There's also the landscaping that's there. It seems fairly original and also fairly untended over the last many years. Should that be refreshed or come up with its own design? The interior is fairly unchanged. The main rooms, which is the auditorium, is unchanged from 1952. The room to the side, which is separated from the auditorium space by an accordion partition, used to be called the dining room. That is effectively unchanged since 1952. The kitchen is generally in the same spot. However, the lobby area and the bathrooms have all been reconfigured. The original design of the building had the bathrooms coming off the lobby. When the city did a remodel in the last bunch of years, we actually made the building less efficient as an events center by having the restrooms actually open up into meeting spaces. And if you have more than one meeting going on, you're really having to cross through someone else's event to get to the restrooms. And that's something that certainly can be changed on the inside. The fireside room, which used to be called the lounge, is effectively original. And that's also something that could be, if there's interest in having more rooms or smaller rooms, that room could be partitioned with a movable screen. There's also a very wonderful stage, and that's, of course, my opinion as your city engineer. It's a unique venue of the building, and should it remain or should it be also converted into a room? And then, is there anything else that you have experienced over at the San Marino Center that would be something that would be good to improve upon or modify or take care of in one fashion or another? So what I would like to do is I have one more slide here, and then I would like to come back to these renovation questions and turn it back over to Chair Chang, really for him to facilitate any questions that come up, so that the questions, as usual, go through your chair. But just to conclude this portion, how to become involved in our project here, you'll see that we have 5 more public meetings that you all can Zoom onto, and this is a list here. We have questionnaires. The questions that I just showed you are also printed out. They're available at City Hall and at the San Marino Center. We're working feverishly to get a questionnaire out to the community as fast as we can. In the meantime, we have a project page that's accessible from the city's website. And if you're not comfortable making suggestions tonight, and you want to be more thoughtful and really write us a big, long, great comment letter, we have a special email that you can see at the bottom there. It is smc@cityofsanmarino.org. Or, of course, you could actually talk to a human being, and we have our phone number there, and we'd be certainly glad to chat with you about the building. So I'm going to go back up to these questions, and if it's okay with the chair, if Chair Cheng wants to poll the group and see how what people would like to talk about, if they have opinions or questions or observations, we're here to take notes.
Sure. Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate it. Very informative information. We'll just conduct this like we normally would with any public comment or any public questions that have been submitted to city staff on behalf of this project. And then we'll open it up to the committee members' specific questions, if any, to shine additional light on the proposed project. First to staff, is there any questions that have been emailed to staff or that you've received specific to this project, agenda item number 1 for the San Marino Center?
We have not received any questions or comments, no.
Okay. Is there anyone that is online that either can raise their hand electronically, or I see your hand, Krista. We'll go to committee members after we address the public first. I believe I see a hand up from Laura Wagner. Did you have a comment or question? If we can unmute.
I do. I have several.
Okay. Well, we would be happy to hear what questions you have, and typically we like to limit questions to about 3 minutes. So if you could please state your name and address, and then you can proceed.
My name is Laura Wagner. I reside at 918 Afton Road in San Marino. So my first question, I'll precede it with a comment. Your proposed questions here seem to indicate to me that although you say you have a good idea of the use of this building and that you have received input from the community that has been the impetus for this project in terms of community need, you are asking questions which seem to indicate that you do not know what the current needs of the community are, nor what the community use or outside use of this building is. So I'm a little bit confused by that. My question for that is, where are the documents that you have that demonstrate community interest in and demonstrated need necessitating this project? That's my first question. Okay, my next question is, if the lobby and bathrooms were redone by the city and now are configured in a way that is less usable than it otherwise should be, is that something that is going to be fixed aside from this project, or is that just being proposed as a part of this project? It seems that if that was messed up by you all, that should have been addressed, or that we should have explanation about how and when that will happen, particularly in light of the fact that there are projects such as Mr. Throne identified earlier, the bathrooms at Lacey Park, which are, I believe, being overseen by this firm and are still not complete. So that seems problematic to me. And then where are the financials, the financial reports? My last question is this. So if you, what's going to be the community's return on investment here? What do we currently see in the way of use and revenue from this building? And what's going to be the use and revenue projection going forward? And where can the community find this information, if it in fact exists?
Thank you very much. That concludes the questions. Thank you very much, Community Member Wagner. Aldo, would we like Mr. Throne to address these questions? Yes. So Michael, if you would be happy to, provide some insight into the questions that were posed.
Certainly. Thank you, Chair Cheng. Regarding community need, the City Council in April of this year received a fairly substantial report from the Community Services Department about the recreation needs that the recreation revisioning. And so, as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, the use of San Marino Center will continue to be like it has been in the past. It's been a rental building. It's housed community events and activities. It's also provided a space for recreation programs. All of those will remain the same and unchanged. And we would almost expect that if the building becomes refreshed, that there might be more interest in using the building more continuously, which is always a good thing with buildings. Regarding the restrooms, it is important to fix the restrooms. And what I mean by fix is that have them function more appropriately for an event center. If you've ever visited any event center, you'll know that the restrooms are off a central lobby, and that to us makes a good design sense. And so that would be something that if supported by the community, we would move forward and do that for the reasons that I've indicated. Regarding financial reports, the city does, through its recreation program, does receive income from the rental of the building. I do not know what that amount is, and I can certainly provide that information to the Design Review Committee after this call.
All right,
So
thank
why
you
don't
very
I-
much. Go
Chair
ahead, Mark.
Chang, if you don't mind, I could add to some of that answer as well.
Please do.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, in terms of financials, generally our rentals are somewhere in the neighborhood of about $8,000 per year is what we get from renting out the San Marino Center. I think that number's in my mind. I could be, I'm pulling that off my memory, so my memory is not always to be trusted. But I would just want to be clear that the project to remodel the San Marino Center was not intended to make it a fee-generating facility. It's intended to be a community center, not to generate a return on investment. This is an investment into our community. So that's the direction that we have from the council at this point, and so that's the direction that we are going with. And otherwise, thanks so much, Michael. I thought that was a great job. Thank you, Chair.
This is Ken Udy. Can I have a comment here?
Sure. Please do.
Thank you. In terms of the financial impact here, the city has, it's like $36 to $38 million in the bank today. And our operating budget for the year is $24 million. So we have, ample cash in the bank. And as City Manager Marlowe said, this is not an ROI. This is, the city has an asset that is getting really tired. And so the decision is, do we try to, put some fresh air into it or not? And what's the cost? And what's the return, not the financial return, but the return to the city to have a very usable facility for, a lot of different purposes. So, and I'm the financial guy. I always look for an ROI. but this is one that there's not an ROI. It's just, what's the cost? And if with your home, are you going to paint it? Are you going to remodel it? You're going to put new floors in? That's kind of where we are, I believe, with the San Marino Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Udi. Appreciate the additional comments. Do we have any other members of the public who'd like to ask a question to Michael or the team here?
Chair, we did receive a comment via the chat.
Sure.
I can read it out loud.
Please do.
Jennifer, no last name, no address, did ask, the city has yet to explain to the public the vision of how this space will be utilized. Is it just event space? I've heard it is to replace Stoneman. What will that look like? Definitely keep the original facade. Spanish redo will be way more than we need to spend.
Okay, thank you very much for those comments, Jennifer. Michael, if there's any, there's some takeaways there with respects to some of the public's feeling of what the facade should be and cost implications. I think we've already touched upon the space utilization, but I'm sure as this further develops, additional information will be made available to the public to further describe, what the vision is of the use and the multitude of options that lay out there as you continue to delve into the design of the proposed renovation.
Yes, you're absolutely precise there, Chair Chang.
Okay. Is there any other members of the public who'd like to speak? If you want to raise a virtual hand on the bar there, or if you want to wave. I see none at this moment. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chair, Laura Wagner has provided a comment on the chat. I want to make sure that her voice is heard on this meeting. If you want to read that out loud.
Sure. Yeah, there was an additional comment from community member Wagner, and the statement was, how can the community be assured that the space will not duplicate what other spaces already offer, i.e. the Crowell Library? Why the timeline of September for final plans, and that COVID will likely prevent the use for quite some time? Michael, would you like to just comment on any of those questions and statements?
Yes, thank you, Chair Chang. We're actually seeing that the San Marino Center is complementary to the current spaces that we have already in the city. It has different types of spaces, different sizes of spaces. And so really, from our perspective, it's complementary and would not really detract from the library. And if anything, the more spaces you have, the more activity events that you can have occur simultaneously. The timeline, why September? The City Council, when they were discussing the timeline of this project back in early July, really wanted to have an expedited schedule to get it to design into construction to take advantage of some opportunities that actually COVID presents to us. What they also wanted to do, though, was to have a very robust public comment period, which is what this particular month has definitely turned out to be into September. And then at their meeting on September 9th, they're going to decide if the plans that are presented to them are satisfactory, that we'll be able to go ahead into final design. If they're not, then the council will give us direction on that. The council could also say that this isn't the right time and that we should put a different schedule together. COVID does make a very interesting challenge for us. However, the opportunities we see is that there are a lot of contractors, a lot of vertical building contractors that do not have a lot of work. And as Vice Mayor Udi mentioned, the city does have some very healthy capital improvement reserves. Many communities around us do not have that financial flexibility that we have. And by having plans prepared this fall into the late winter, going out to bid in a very early 2021 period could very well represent some extremely favorable bids to us. And so that is a very important feature as it impacts how the schedule is going forward. The rest of, I'm looking at Ms. Wagner's, the next part of her comment was that the rec department needs will likely be very different than it has been in the past. And I think that's very clear. The city council in April adopted a plan, a phase 1 recreation plan that starts to revision the recreation program. And it does have different needs for our different programs. However, that currently can be well fit into not only the San Marino Center, but also other locations such as Lacey Park. When it comes to what community groups use the center, I have a list nearby. There's about 25 community groups that use not only the San Marino Center, but also the Barth Room. We've reached out to all of those. We've got the questions that I've asked you today. They've all provided us with responses to, and we'll be compiling those for the task force for them to also be looking at the question of uses. And really about half of them are from San Marino, about half of them are from our neighboring cities. This is a very attractive city. People like to come here. They like to invite San Marino residents to their programs.
Michael, if Director, if I may, Chair, these are all great questions. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that we focus the questions and comments, and these are all great comments, by the way, and I love the discussion here, and we can certainly get back to a lot of the Q&A on this, but Chair, if you wouldn't mind, we had displayed a PowerPoint slide that asked very specific questions that we're trying to get direction on, and those questions are really related to really that big bulk question of the architectural style of the building. And so, and that question, if I remind the group, is do we want to go with that mid-century modern 1950s look, or look to pivot to a Spanish style building that is, of course, relevant to a lot of the surrounding buildings around the San Marino Center. So if you wouldn't mind, if we can get the group focused on that specific question, that would be very, very helpful.
Yeah,
Right.
and I agree. This is Ken Udigan. I agree, Aldo, thank you, that this is a brainstorming period, and we're after a lot of community input. And it's a community input on should we go forward, but what design should go forward, and what features should go forward. And the purpose here is design and features. And we do have a group of about a dozen people that will be listening to all the community input to help create what these design specifications should be or could be for the architect, for the council then to consider, whether this moves forward or not. So, I appreciate all those comments that we should think about, the functionality of the building that you think would be appropriate, assuming it goes forward, and what design you think it should look like on the exterior, assuming it goes forward, and the use of interior and exterior space, assuming it goes forward.
Right.
And thank you, Vice Mayor. And I want to use Ms. Wagner's comment of last to sort of facilitate the next movement towards that focus, and that no change, the exterior simply refreshed with paint. And let's use as a launching point to guide our discussion as to that one question as to mid-century modern, which is keeping it as it is and refreshing the building, or a pivot to a Spanish style building, which one could argue could be consistent with the surrounding property. So I'll leave it up to Chair Chang to follow through with that lead there.
Right. Thank you very much, Aldo. Yes, I mean, the purpose of this hearing specifically is for the design review and the opportunity for the public to speak to the design and the implementation of what they would like to see. But of course, dovetailing that the use of the facilities will influence what the design is. So we understand that piece and we can appreciate that piece. Although, is there, to the comments that are coming in specific to the broader use and the financial viability or you know, the financial reports of the project, et cetera. Is there another meeting or venue that'll be more appropriate that we can advise to the public here so that they have that understanding of when that would be?
Yeah, so certainly, Chair, there's going to be a wide variety of different meetings coming up that we can certainly look to take advantage of those meetings to share some more information. As we progress through this outreach program, we're learning a lot of things that help us sort of pivot and adapt with these various types of meetings that we're having. And so certainly that's a great point, that as we pivot and adapt, we can certainly have more information that we can share with the groups, and of course, make it a broader outreach to get that information out there to the public. But again, the focus, as I keep saying, is really the exterior of this building. Not that the interior use of the spaces are not relevant; those are 100% relevant to this Q&A comment period, because some of the questions that were asked in that slide were about outdoor spaces, the function of the interior spaces as well. So those are very, very relevant questions. But again, I wanted to, as our design review committee is very well versed as to in critiquing the design of a project. And so this is where we at the moment is we have a mid-century modern building that needs refreshing. Now, do we refresh it as it is, or do we pivot and change the architectural style? Those are the questions that we want to ask right now.
Right. Great. Thank you very much. So with that last comment from Director Cervantes, is there any other members of the public who'd like to speak specifically about the facade and design of the building, or have comments regarding that matter? Seeing none and looking at the comment board, the chat board, I don't see any at this moment. So we will close the public comment portion at this time. Again, there will be other opportunities, and I'm sure that Aldo and the city staff will make it available to public to what other venues and opportunities there will be for the public to make their comments and opinions about the project and its viability.
Chair Chang?
Yes.
Let me actually just address that piece quickly
Please.
before you move on to your discussion on design.
Sure.
This project has been underway for quite some time, and so the comment period for some of the questions being asked has actually concluded because the City Council has actually made the decisions already.
Okay.
Some of the conversations will still be happening. So just to kind of sort through the timeline quickly, I hope this is helpful. Decisions about what recreation programming is going to look like and how they're going to be utilizing the San Marino Center, that discussion has already occurred. That occurred at a council meeting in April. Discussion on whether to move forward with designing the building and begin this process, that also has already occurred. The final decisions on that were made in July. At the September 9th meeting, that would be the opportunity for the public to come and share their thoughts on the proposed design itself, which will be published along with the agenda the week before the meeting. And I suppose if there was a desire on behalf of the public to reconsider any of the decisions that the council has made previously, that would be the place to articulate that. Comments about whether we should proceed with construction would likely happen at the city council meeting in, we're estimating probably January is when that decision will be made. Again, the council has not made the decision yet to proceed with construction. That would not happen until the plans are done. So depending on what pieces they are that the public wants to comment on, those are either the times where those comments would have happened in the past, could happen again, or would happen in the future. But discussions about whether to move forward and what process to use, those are city council discussions and votes, and the discussion would occur there, not directly with staff. So thank you so much, Chair Chang. I appreciate it. I'm happy to turn the meeting back to you so that we can get some design conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, City Manager Marlowe. That's very informative, and it gives the opportunity for the public and community members knowledge of where we stand in the process. So we will close the public comment portion at this time, and then if we can have any comments specific from the design review committee members. Is there any committee members that have questions or comments with regards to the question posed and the direction as far as design with respects to how they may proceed on the design at the San Marino Center?
Yeah, I have got one question, if I may.
Yeah, committee member Brody.
Yeah, is it contemplated to go to a second story structure or keep it primarily as a one-story structure?
We're going to keep the building, have its same footprint and add no more square footage, either horizontally or vertically. So the answer is no second floor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Member Brody. Are there any other questions from committee members?
It's
Committee
not
member
a question, just a comment.
Oh, okay. If we can unmute Committee Member Wong, and then Joyce, you can, Vice Chair Batnij, you can comment, and then we'll have Peter speak. Go ahead, Joyce.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, in terms of if you're asking for comments and not just questions, from what I understand, the purpose of this meeting is to give some sort of big picture design direction to the architectural firm that's been hired by the city, and big picture design direction on style on the building. And, you know, it's strange because usually we're looking at a plan that's already in front of us and it's already been decided. So this is kind of the reverse of what we usually do. But I think it's great to get input from the public and from these committees and bodies around town at all stages of the game. And I just would like to suggest that that the city devote as much time getting input when the design, when there is a design proposal to be put in front of people. Because right now we're sort of, you're asking for big picture direction. So I think that one of the reasons why you're coming to DRC is because we're architecturally minded. We understand issues like compatibility, and because that's what we do all the time. And so right now the San Marino Center, as we've discussed, looks like a sort of mix between a late 40s traditional mixed with like an early mid-century style. And I think, you know, you're asking for a direction on whether to do a complete overhaul and to recreate this building as a Spanish style, or whether to stick with the existing style and, you know, sort of spruce up the exterior and revive it to its former glory. So I would say that architecturally speaking, trying to create a Spanish style structure out of the existing design, you know, which has these mid-century elements like flat roofs, it may be rather difficult to achieve and also quite awkward to achieve. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk on this phone call from the community about costs. And I think it's not possible to discuss this design direction without simultaneously discussing cost, at least as an element of the design. So I would like to point out that, you know, it's important to note that changing the style of the structure to a Spanish style structure would make this a much larger project in scope and therefore a much more expensive project to both design and build. And compare that to beautifying the existing structure, which we're all used to and which is there, which obviously needs some work, but you know, the existing structure really suffers from deferred maintenance issues more than anything. It's my opinion that with a new coat of paint, new landscaping, getting rid of all those exposed conduits, a new roof, you know, cover up those pipes, those, I don't know if they're fire department pipes or whatever that are sticking out. I mean, it's really just kind of, this building is suffering from neglect. And that combined with the added cost of and awkwardness architecturally of changing this to a completely different Spanish style, you know, when you add all of that up together, to me it points to, you know, reviving this structure, beautifying it, bringing it back to what it once was, and not try to twist awkwardly the structure into a Spanish style. I think that would achieve what the city wants to achieve, which is to modernize the space and make it more usable for today's world and today's city activities. As far as the outdoor space, because that's one of the things that you asked about and mentioned, you know, the outdoor space next door at the library, which was created, is almost unused. So I wouldn't see the need to create much of an outdoor space here considering that there's adequate space right next door that hardly goes used at all. And the last thing I would note is that, you know, if this is going to be a center for the community, the only comment I have on the interior is that, you know, as far as events and classes go, I would think that it would be really useful to have some sort of a kitchen, a functioning kitchen. And I don't mean like a really tiny mini kitchen, because there are really there are no places in the city where it's possible to you know, have a really to have a proper food service, if you will, whether that be a luncheon or whether that be for cooking classes for kids or adults. The only place that I can think of is the Hill Harbison House, and that is, you max out at 50. So this would be really the only place in the city where you would be able to have some I guess call it catering service or catering facilities, or enough of a space for food service that could accommodate more than 50 people. I don't mean necessarily, you know, thousands of people or anything like that. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Batnich. That was very informative and helpful. I think the comments will definitely facilitate in the team to delve into the options available and specifically about the kitchen. Committee Member Wong, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you very much. We have been seeing some DRC cases recently that even there's COVID around us. Sounds like getting the proper contractors and whatnot may not be as easy as one think. And I do have personal experience of getting the right team doing some projects around town that I've heard from friends and so forth. So I would just like to bring it up. I'm sure Mr. Thorne and the team are fully aware of that. So when we are eventually at the stage of doing the budgeting and costs and whatsoever, I think that should be something that we will be looking at very tightly. And the other thing I would like to add is that it is, as Vice Chair said, it is more than a private property that is one's own budget. Then you can do whatever you want. You have 2 person in a 1 acre lot. You can build as your budget allows. But it is actually public money. So I'm sure the team has been fully on top of that. And as we go forward, I'm sure the community is looking forward to some of those input as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for the comments. Are there any other committee members, Committee Member Chow or Lakon, that'd like to make any comments?
Yeah, I'd like to make one. If we could put those questions up on the board so everyone can see them, I could just fly through them with the responses.
Sure. If Michael, if you could put those, share your screen again.
On those 7 questions. Okay, I'll just go through them very quickly. I believe that, as was stated, I don't want to beat it again, but I think changing the style is much more onerous, and it creates potentials for a lot of problems. I think if you're keeping it a 1-story, and that was one of the initial questions, keeping it a mid-century works out well. I think you could ameliorate a lot of the differences in the styling with landscaping, and hence outdoor courtyards or outdoor activity that's landscaped appropriately, I think would be an excellent thought as to keeping a flow between one structure, which is mid-century modern, and another, which may be Spanish. The room sizes and the stage, I would tend to believe that one would want to poll the potential users of the structure and determine if a stage is something that would be essential to the structure itself, and what size rooms and what capacity or occupancy are we talking about. I think the key is, as was pointed out by the Vice Chair, a refurbishing of a MCM structure. And I think ameliorating a lot of the differences in style can be handled with some intelligent landscaping. That's the extent of my comments today.
Thank you very much, Committee Member Brody. Committee Member Chow or Lycon, any questions or insights? Committee Member Chow.
Yes, I basically just want to kind of say that I'm very much in agreement with some of the comments already made, especially some of the comments that Vice Chair had pointed out. I'm also in favor of keeping the current architectural style the same, but we bringing some refresh it and bringing some new energy, as opposed to even that you know, sounding like, okay, well, we sort of have approved budget, short of a blank check. We can kind of do whatever we want, but is it really necessary? I think we want to spend the money responsibly, and from what I heard from the Vice Chair and other members, I think that by making the kind of fresh up the building and go in there, spend maybe more energy, have more focus in the inside, possibly having spruce up some of the catering service capability. That could be a plus. And also agree that the outdoor courtyard, I don't think is really that necessary in terms of the stage and also the meeting rooms being larger or smaller. I don't really have a strong opinion. My personal experience doesn't really call for those type of changes. That's my comment for now.
Thank you, Committee Member Chow. Committee Member Lycon, would you like to make a comment? You're on mute, if you could unmute. Or if we could unmute Committee Member Lycon. There you go. Go ahead.
I wanted to say that I do agree with the comments made by the other committee members, specifically about the architecture. I think it's way too risky to try to turn it into a Spanish design, as everyone has already stated. I would approach it more fiscally minded. I would like to see it like you would do as a homeowner. You would do the wiring, the plumbing, the roof, you'd paint it, and then you would do the interior to the needs of, in this case, the community. As far as the outdoor space, this is one location I would rather not see any outdoor space. I think that we have the outdoor space at the library, but all the different areas in the city that are offered to the residents, we have many different uses already. So for outdoor space, we have the old mill, which is beautiful, and we probably wouldn't be able to top that to use it as an outdoor space. And then we have Lacey Park. So those are just two beautiful areas already outside to offer. What we don't have any to offer is a large space for a large party, and we don't have a nice catering kitchen to host these events. And ideally, I would like that living area room to be a lounge room, because if it turns into another meeting space, it'll be duplicating maybe the bathroom. And it would be much nicer for a little smaller groups to rent out a room that felt more homey and living room like, to conduct their meetings and events for smaller groups. Even like before City Club, it would be nice to have a room like that to like a what are they called? You go someplace early, what is it called? It would just, it would be serve the community in a way that we don't have right now, and would offer us an alternative. So those would be my comments. Oh, and the outdoor space, sorry. I'm worried that the outdoor space will end up very hot and very uncomfortable because of the size of what's gonna happen to have to redo the outside. All the ADA and all the upgrades, it's gonna change the outdoor. We're gonna have a lot more concrete just based on construction, and less, we're gonna have more heat. It's gonna be very hot, and it's not gonna be a comfortable outdoor setting. And we're also gonna have the pollution exhaust from the street and the noise. So I think that overall we should just cut out the outdoor space for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lakon. So, I'll wrap it up with just final comments. I agree with a lot of the comments made. I think a sufficient and suitable catering space would be very beneficial. I think, as you continue to query the city and the needs, as far as, having optional sizes, small rooms, and maybe a large venue, that would be beneficial. Specific to the architecture, I agree. To try to shoehorn a Spanish into that facility will be cost prohibitive, as well as, I don't think the original architecture of the building has the bones to support that. I think the current style should be maintained. It is wedged in between, the middle school and the library. And, I think trying to make it work rather than just keeping it as is would be probably the better decision, as already stated by my fellow committee members. I have fond memories of the facility. I believe I had my 8th grade graduation dance there. So,
Cotillion.
Right? And even at that time,
Cotillion class.
you see? And even that's right, Cotillion was there. Even at that time, it was, it was already, needed, in dire need of some upgrades and improvements. So on that note, I think it is a beneficial move for the community. Again, to be fiscally responsible for what we are going to do there. But again, I think we've gotten really good comments this evening. Also, one thing I did want to comment and see if there can be options is the actual entryway into the facility. That entryway has always faced Huntington Drive, and it's not. So I think this will come into place with ADA and accessibility overall and access to the facility. I think by maybe having the main entryway to that building be closer to where you'd park and get off your vehicle and enter that space will make the space more usable. I think in the few instances I have been to the facility, minus my 8th grade dance, was from either that entrance on the front, which is quite a few steps away, and at the rear of the property through the back, and that was not a very pleasant experience either. So whatever the architect can design and come up with, that would be a solution for easier, greater accessibility for visitors that do visit the San Marino Center. That would also be something that I think should be top of list. Again, I think we appreciate everyone's comments. Thank you so much to the City Council, Vice Mayor, and Mayor for joining us, as well as Mr. Throne. We really appreciate it. City Manager Marlo, and everyone that's been involved. We really appreciate your comments and your time, and I think the city is going to offer as many opportunities to the public to give input into the design as they continue to consider venturing and improving the space. With that, we will close this agenda item. I don't think we have any other comments right now. There was one last comment. Where is the parking for this facility? Michael, could you just answer that one last question from a public member?
There is parking. There's pull-in parking on the west side of the building. There are 2 MacGyvered handicap spots in the front, 2 Mickey Mouse handicap spots in the rear, and that is the extent of parking.
Can I interject on that, Michael? We actually lease. This is Councilman Tolt. We actually lease parking spots from the school district. I forget the exact number, but whether it's sufficient or not, I'll have to go back and take a look at the numbers. But we're not just limited to the amounts that Michael mentioned, but we also lease space from the school district for events that might occur after 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that at least addresses partially what the parking that's provided is for the facility. With that, we will move on to our second agenda of the evening. Thank you again, everybody, who has participated for this first agenda item. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair Chang, and members of the Design Review Committee and Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will go on to our first or second agenda item of the evening. That's going to be design review case number DRC 20-21, 2318 Huntington Drive. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is the second hearing for the sign application for a new business, which is known as San Marino Pediatric Dentistry, located on Huntington Drive. The business will take the space within a single-story commercial building, sharing the building with another tenant, which is Gold Cake Bakery. The dentistry is proposing 2 signs, one illuminated wall sign facing Huntington Drive and one wall sign facing the back alley. At the last hearing, the committee was concerned with the illumination of the sign and asked the applicant to consider reducing the illumination or completely remove it. The applicant has provided a letter to the committee, which was distributed to you earlier today. The applicant is asking that the committee reconsider the request, given that there are 6 existing illuminated signs on the same block. So now going to the staff report. Staff is able to support the request for both signs for this business, given that the signage are appropriate in size and it is proportional to the size of the frontage. This is a project that is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and staff finds that the proposed signage is compatible with the signage found on adjacent commercial structure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff from committee members? Vice Chair Banish?
Should I wait?
We'll wait till the fire truck drives away and then maybe you'll have a better opportunity to be heard. All
Yeah,
right.
this is like a combination of a question and comment, because I did ask Ms. Choi this offline and she answered me, and I never know whether when I ask something offline, if that's something that really all the committee members should know or how that works. But I was asking if the report says that there are 6 illuminated signs that are within the nearby area to this. And I had asked, when's the last time, were any of those signs approved by a DRC? Because I don't recall in the last several years, any of us or even previous DRCs ever approving any of these signs. And I know that most of them are within the last 5 years. The HSBC wasn't there. Those other businesses, Sky Something Investment wasn't there. The only one I can think of that was already there was Jajorian, which has been there forever, and that is a neon sign that is now, by our standards, not allowed. So I was just thinking that the city, that Ms. Choi could address that issue about the rule that was kind of sunsetted.
Okay. So signage is a type of application that recently came back to the design review committee. I believe it was summer of last year, 2019. And the committee did not, prior to that, the 5 years prior to 2019, the committee did not see any signage application because the municipal code allows staff to approve signage over the counter without a hearing. Because the municipal code ordinance had sunset, or and which then brings back an old ordinance that would allow the DRC the ability to review and approve signage. And that's why that particular section came back to the municipal code, and that is the reason why we are now bringing these application to you. And in terms of the existing 6 illuminated signage on that particular block, it is very possible, without doing further research, it is very possible that those signage predate DRC requirements, and I don't believe they were brought in front of the committee in the last 5 years.
Okay. Thank you. And then the second thing that I had asked you was, I couldn't find anything on this application that had changed, and you seem to imply in your introductory comments that nothing has changed from, in other words, we continued this last time to give the applicant a chance to respond to our comments and suggestions. And if I understand it correctly, they have not responded to any of them.
That is
Is
correct.
that correct?
Yes,
Okay, thank
that is
you.
correct. You're welcome.
All right, any other questions for staff from committee members? Seeing none, we'll move it to the applicant. Is the applicant present? Or the applicant representative?
I'm Mike Heffernan. I work for Sunset Signs. I am the sign contractor. I don't know if the actual tenant is here right now.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, Mike. If you can state your full name and then your address again.
Yes. My name is Michael Heffernan, and I'm with Sunset Signs, located at 2981 East White Star Avenue in Anaheim, California.
Thank you very much, Mike. So were you the same representative that was here during the first initial committee hearing?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And so you heard the comments, and unfortunately your clients were not available at that time, and I don't see them here now or have not commented yet. If they are here, if they could raise their hand or digitally, but I don't see anybody on the.
Yeah, I didn't see her here when I first came in, and I haven't
So
seen her.
I guess the question would be: you communicated the comments to your clients, and they basically said, did they have a response or?
Yeah, basically they wanted us. Her first idea of the whole situation was that there were already signs similar to hers on the same block. So this was more of a discussion between the tenant and my manager. So I kind of went out and did the footwork first, and walked around that exact block and then the blocks over, and kind of just checked out everything. And it did seem like there were multiple signs that would fit the same standard that we are trying to install. So it kind of came down to the point that she was just trying to go with what we had originally tried to get past the first time. And since after that conversation, that's where we kind of left it.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions for the applicant this time around that we haven't already asked or been answered yet? Committee Member Lakon, go ahead.
Is it Mr. Heffernan?
Yes.
So the lighting that you're proposing tonight is lit in different colors. What are the options in your signs that are not lit or lit in a different manner?
The only other way that we really let anything go other than standard LED is fluorescence, which is pretty much outdated, and neon, which is also close to extinct for building signs. It is coming back in a retro way with certain buildings in an old look, but I mean, at the same time, I'm going to say 95% of the time, everything is standard LED.
Do you do backlit as well? And do you do any signs that aren't lit?
Yes, we do handle backlit as well. I don't believe the tenant wanted anything of that nature, but we did pass along multiple different types of signs that we do, so she had the options.
So there's two backlit lit signs. I've only seen them. I think I've only seen them maybe in black. The sign itself, and then it's lit in the back.
Yeah, so it's just basically during the day, the sign itself is like a reverse channel letter that we have. It's closed off, just a solid piece, and then the LEDs themselves are attached behind the letter, which is hollow. And at nighttime, when it lights up, it creates a halo effect around the letters. And the only colors that we normally use is just white LED. And then it pretty much, the letters, no matter what color they are at nighttime, they stand out as black, and the halo just is white around it. So all you can do is read the letters.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for the applicant from committee members? Committee member Chow.
Yes, to Mr. Heffernan. So did I understand this correctly? So the sign itself at night, when it's lit, it's not really backlit. It's just a halo around it. So the letterings themselves will be just opaque.
Yes, so, but that's not the case, I don't believe, in this exact sign that we're doing. I was just kind of answering the question as to what the halo effect is. These, I believe, are just standard channel letters with acrylic faces that do illuminate through the face.
So it's bright and shiny, very noticeable.
Yeah.
So my second question is that maybe staff can help as well, is that can we revisit the comments we have from the last meeting, because the lack of response from the applicants, I just want to see that where we left it and where we go from here. So question for Mr. Heffernan is that, do you have the notes, and maybe follow up by maybe staff can verify that, if that's possible. Because I remember one of the concerns we had was the brightness. Like, is there a way we can dim it down to control the illumination?
Well, there are ways of having dimmers installed. Most of the time we just have solar, which is something, it's something that most cities actually require with a Title 24. It's a sign lighting compliance form, and we basically make sure that there is something, an astronomical timer, if not a regular timer, that will shut off the sign at a certain time, whichever is allowed. The amount of light itself, drawing back to that, is not any brighter than any other sign that is actually already on the block. There's no way of being brighter with a standard LED. There's a way of dimming it, but there is no way of going brighter than anything that's already there.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Committee member Lakon?
One more.
Yes.
I noticed on some of the commercial signs on Huntington in general, there was like one letter is not lit; it's burnt out. Is that how this sign is proposed, that each light is separate, or is that not the case?
Yes. So each letter, it is individual letter for the front sign, and yes, they're each individually lit, and they have multiple LEDs in each one. And the reason that we actually use LED is because they are extremely long lasting and energy efficient. So yeah, when one goes out, which we still never get really service calls on that. We get service calls on neon and older lighting forms that we need to change out. But LEDs are far out from being burnt out or anything of that nature. And if and when they are, it's only one diode that needs to be changed in order for the whole thing to light back up.
Any other questions, committee members Lakon? Or does that answer your?
I don't know. Maybe it answers it. I'm not sure.
I have a question. Can you make this sign without being interior illuminated or without any illumination? Do you do that work?
Yeah, I mean, we do channel letters that are non-lit, but at the same time, you know, it's always, the customer's always right. So if what they see more or less, we took the comments from the committee last time and went back and discussed them and said, this is something, this is an option. We can do this. But it was just something that she thought was something that should be allowed given the
Thank you.
circumstances of the other tenants.
All right. Is that all the comments from committee members for the applicant? Seeing none further, I will open it up to the public. Is there any members of the public who'd like to speak for, against, or about this project? Marlon or Eva, have you received any specific comments or questions from the public on this application?
We have not.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion and move it to committee member discussions. Committee member Brody.
Yeah, we continued this matter at the last hearing for the sole purpose of providing Mr. Heffernan an opportunity to get with his client and see if his client could ameliorate our concerns. And his client essentially has taken the position, I want either a straight denial or a grant of DRC 20-21. And I'm not going to change a thing. I have a problem with the illumination. I voiced that at the last hearing. I have a problem with it today. And we don't have the client here to offer any alternatives. So once we are done commenting, it's going to be my intention to move to deny DRC 20-21.
Thank you very much, Committee Member Brody. Committee Member Chow.
Well, I think originally I could see approving the project. I visited the storefront Monday. I think the applicants did a good job. I liked the treatment and the facade, how they integrated the color scheme, the texture, the window frames, and all that. I think that's all good plus. However, I think given the history and the lack of response from the applicants, like we basically, as a committee member Brody pointed out clearly, it's like, hey, look, here are our concerns. What do you think? It's like, well, we want to do what we want to do. So I think that's kind of a turning point for me. So if I were to vote tonight, I would probably not going to be able to support it.
Thank you, Committee Member Chow. Committee Member Wong. Can we unmute Committee Member Wong, please? Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate the additional information provided by the vendor, but I share with my colleagues that it is very unfortunate that we don't have the representation of the owner here to have a two-way dialogue. I personally also see ground for the approval, especially there's an area where there is no residential in front of it or next to it. So the light so-called overflow would be to public area and streets, and that one can argue actually brighten up the streets a little bit at night too. But I find it difficult to cross the path when there's nobody that I can communicate with together with my colleagues tonight. So I find it difficult to approve.
Thank you, Committee Member Wong. Committee Member Lakon.
Thank you. I agree with my colleagues. I would have preferred to speak with the applicant, see the other options. I think I was looking for compatibility, and all the signs were outside of the legal neighborhood, and the legal neighborhood is given to us. Most of those signs are awnings with the lettering on the front flat side facing the street. It's very traditional and refined. This building has potentially 3 units. Right now it's 2, but it's originally 3. So it could always be divided back into 3 units. again, the applicant owns the building, and because there's potentially 3 spaces, I would like to see a comprehensive design program so that we have some continuity and with the building itself. If we approve this sign and it's quite large and illuminating, then the bakery next door can have some big bright light sign, and together they might not work very well. I would like to see something more compatible with the businesses across the street. This building is not a big building. It's very modest. They did a really nice job, I think, on the remodel and the renovation of the building. But it's very kind of like the building next door. It's more residential in scale, and I would like to see something a little more refined and to work along with the building, the commercial spaces across the street and a little bit further down, and not pull from those signs and that look that came in during those 5 years that signs did not go through the approval period. There's also ways to light up a sign that's less bright, with a down light over something that's a little more sophisticated. So I would like to see something more like that, but the applicant is not here today. I find that a little frustrating. So I would not be able to support the project tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Lakon. Vice Chair Banish.
I agree with many of the comments that have been made already. If this was a sign with no illumination, I would be able to approve it tonight. It's very frustrating that the applicants aren't here. I probably would have, even gone for an approval with, some kind of low lighting or backlit lighting, which is a lot more subtle and a lot less in your face than the signs that were passed in the 5 years that DRC wasn't able to express its opinion on these things. I think those were largely a mistake. I should think that the ones that were approved with those 6 signs that we were shown, one of them was grandfathered in from probably 50 years ago, the carpet store that was neon. Out of the other 5, I think they're all new. The one that, is more subtle and more acceptable to me is on the awning, as was mentioned. It's a lot more subtle, a lot more traditional look, which is kind of in tune with that neighborhood, which is still kind of, I guess I'll call it historic downtown, for lack of a better word. I know that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I wouldn't really be able to approve the interior lit, sign tonight. And it is super unfortunate that the applicant not only chose to ignore everything we said at the last time, but also isn't here to say, would you accept a backlit, or would you come back with something that is a very much a low light situation, or a backlit, something like that. So I would, if someone is going to motion to deny, I would go along with that.
Thank you, Vice Chair Banish. Let me just confirm with the committee members, did you all receive that letter from the applicant from staff this afternoon or this morning actually at 11:40 this morning?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so in that letter, the last sentence states, we can install colored acrylic non-lit sign, but install LED strip lighting behind the wood so that can provide a warm glow. I prefer backlit lighting, but the strip lighting may be a compromise. So I guess it's not saying that they'd be amenable to a non-lit sign either. I just wanted to make sure that everyone did see that. So it sounds like if we could reach an agreement that it was a non-lit sign, there would be an option here. My take is similar to all the other committee members, the consensus. Unfortunately, the applicant is not present aside from their vendor. And I would say to their detriment, I think we could have discussed an approvable project or application. I tend to believe that actually an illuminated sign is needed in that location. It is a pediatric dentist, so you will presumably have parents driving their children to go see the dentist, and not in the summer, but in the fall and winter when it's dark, and you're looking for this location, which the street parking is not great. It is only street parking, and the alleyway in the back is dark as no.
So they have 10 spots in the back. That, but that's the location.
That's accessed by alleyway off of either Kenilworth or.
It needs to be lit. You're right.
That's right. It does need to be lit, and it would help the business as well as the public for directional guidance of where to go when they're looking for their dentist. So again, we don't have the benefit to discuss an option. They say they are amenable to a backlit lighting or the strip lighting. I don't know how that would look like, and we don't have any rendering to see that. Or I guess the applicant's representative, with the strip lighting they proposed, was that an option that you proposed to your client, Mr. Heffernan?
Yeah, so that was something that we had discussed, and I believe that she wanted to go with the original, just to basically, like I said, she had looked at the other signs that were on the block and thought that she should be allowed to be able to do the same thing.
Right.
So that's something we can definitely do, but that's, like I said, it's up to the customer.
No, and again, we don't have the benefit of the customer being here, right?
Right. And in all reality, I believe she was notified, and I thought that she was going to be here. So,
yeah. All right. Well, we won't bemoan the issue any further. Again, I don't think. I think there should be a sign. I think there should, to a portion of it, be eliminated. But without having a applicant to bounce ideas off of and what they are amenable to, I think we only have a single option here. So with that, do we have a motion?
Yes, I'll move to deny sign review 20-21.
Committee member Brody with the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Vice Chair Batnish with the second. Roll call, please.
Committee Member Chow,
Yes.
Committee Member Wong,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Brody,
Yes.
Vice Chair Batnich,
Yes.
Chair Chang.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our next agenda item for the evening. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Design Review Committee number DRC 20-44 is a request to install an illuminated wall sign for Davida Kidney Care at 900 Huntington Drive. The proposed sign will be illuminated as mentioned. The code allows for a maximum of 10 candle power at 10 feet from the face of the sign. This sign will be 4.3 candle power at 10 feet from the sign. The sign will be 41.3 square feet and not to exceed the maximum allowed of 120 square feet. Staff finds that the proposed sign is compatible with the neighborhood and consistent with the existing building and recommends approval.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff from committee members?
Yeah, I have a question. I was just wondering about the comment that was submitted by, I guess, a neighbor or a resident or someone that seemed to be unsigned, or they didn't indicate their name.
I believe we received a few. Were you referring to the one we received earlier this morning?
It was written in very kind of architectural style writing,
Oh, I see.
and someone had not, I couldn't see a name attached to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it returned with no return label. It was sent to us with no return label, so I couldn't make out who that was sent from.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from committee members?
Can you tell me some background on this business? I recall when it came to planning, I believe I don't know if I was at the meeting or I just had read the agenda. And can you tell me about this facility and the uses of that it's going to be used for?
Sure. The applicant is available and may be able to better answer those questions, but to my knowledge, this use was approved with a conditional use permit by the Planning Commission prior. The use of this building, if and again, Ms. Lima is here and may be able to correct me, but I believe it is training for individuals who will be providing this service at other DaVita kidney care facilities.
That was what I was trying to get at, to see if this was just strictly a training facility that patients aren't going to be looking for. Just people that work for DaVita will be coming to do their training, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions for staff at this time? Seeing, here.
Thank you. I just want to check with staff that the business is going to take over the entire property with the blue awning around the front facade, correct?
That I'm actually not sure of. I believe Ms. Lima can clarify that.
Okay.
Any other questions? We'll wait for the applicant. Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant present?
Yes,
If you could please state your name and address.
sure. Cynthia Lima with Superior Electrical Advertising, 1700 West Anaheim Street, Long Beach, California.
Thank you very much. We've already basically discussed in our questions about the signage and what you guys do. Is there any other details you'd like to provide before we ask questions?
I would just point out that the only portion of the sign that's illuminated is the brand name DaVita. The words kidney care are non-illuminated letters.
The star on top of the I would be.
And the star, that's part of their trademarked logo. That's correct.
Are there any questions for the applicant from committee members? No? None? Okay. We'll now move to the public comment portion. Are there any members of the public who would like to make comments for, against, or about this applicant?
I would like to read one letter we received this morning into the record. I believe that was sent out to all the committee members, but for the public who did not receive that, we did receive a letter from Lan Yang, and it reads, to the San Marino Design Review Committee, I, the owner of 2295 South Oak Knoll Avenue, oppose the sign design proposed for 900 Huntington Drive, San Marino. The sign appears to be too large and is bright for its location and therefore aesthetically out of character for the neighborhood. It stands out too much, and as it stands currently, it would negatively impact the quality of the neighborhood.
Thank you very much, staff member Cervantes. Any other comments from public? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion and move to committee member discussions. Vice Chair Batnish.
As someone mentioned in the questions, my understanding that this is like a training center, so we don't have customers looking for, where to get their dialysis or whatever. So we have employees coming to their training school, if you will. So that would suggest to me that, a larger sign, a lit up sign may be less justified than for another type of business. I also note that we've got several letters objecting to this. From what I could gather, it's considered, perhaps because it's very visible from the residential areas that are nearby and across the street. From what I'm gathering, the neighbors would prefer that it be a little smaller and maybe not lit or less lit. So I think that we should take that to the applicant and see how they will react to that feedback from the neighbors.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Committee member Lakon.
I think that I am not able to support any illumination on this sign. This building is, I want to look at it from Chelsea over to this to west to this building, and that development started in 1926, and it was very carefully curated to blend with the building prior as it moved west. And there's significant architecture work there, and I think it's very, it's like it's an entry into the city when you enter from on Huntington Drive, and it's very significant as far as architecture. And I think that we need to be very careful when we start doing things like this to this area, because then the next building can have this big bright lit up sign, and the next one, and the whole building is Spanish style. I mean, from Chelsea to this building, it was designed in Spanish style, and I think that we need to stick with the signage that is compatible with the Spanish building and with that center as a whole, to keep it unified and to keep it identifiable as that era of San Marino's development that's so beautiful. And we really want the applicant to be respectful of that in this area that they've chosen for their training center. I think that it would impact the rest of the buildings, and I think that that's something that we don't want. It's also unusual that the building, there are houses across the street, and even those small offices are residential zoned, so they are R1, even though they have a small office on them. So they could be a house at any given time, I suppose. And I think that the neighbors who are worried about that signage and the light and the look of that is going to be a detriment to their properties, because precedents will be set. So I would like to actually be in favor of denying this today, unless, yeah. Thank you.
Committee Member Brody. Committee Member Brody.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree with Committee Member Lakon, and I have some more to add. I don't see illumination here, and certainly what sticks out to me, and is very significant, is the relative size of the sign as compared to the fascia, the size of the fascia of that building, because it occupies a huge chunk of that fascia of the building, and it seems completely out of proportion. That's a disturbing circumstance that I certainly don't want to see here or anywhere else in the city. I understand that there's a desire to advertise oneself, but I think this goes way too far, and it's oversized with respect to the building, and I could not support this project at all.
All right. Thank you very much, Committee Member Brody. Committee Member Chow.
Yes, I also agree with most of the comments I've heard so far. In that area, in that neighborhood, at night, even there's some closer to major intersections. I mean, you have Oak Knoll, you have Huntington, but that part of the town is really kind of serene, kind of dark. It's nice at night. And so I definitely have also concern with illumination, certainly with the size as well. And the type of business is very much destination only. It's not like someone is going to be driving at night looking for it. On top of that, other concerns. So I also, again, agree with other comments. I would hesitate to support it.
All right, Committee Member Wong.
I share many of the comments of my colleagues, and I want to also add that given the very unique architecture of this structure, it is very different from the little business village west to it, including Noodle World and Taylor and whatnot. Their signages, even Noodle's lit signage, is on the awning height, which is of more of a human scale. This proposal is putting the sign way up, 39 feet above ground. And with this modern structure look, that gave we San Marino a major junction entry point look like it is Hollywood and violent. And I think it is just not compatible to the environment as a whole. If it is not lit, I can see some reason for that. And again, because of the usage of training location, we would not want to promote it as an advertising opportunity in the town of San Marino for that sake. So I find it difficult to support it tonight.
Thank you, Committee Member Wong. Committee Member Lakon.
She spoke already, didn't she?
Yes, did you already speak? Okay. And okay, so my take is, I agree with all the comments. I think that not having an illumination on that sign would be acceptable, given that there is a street light in proximity to that facility. So even in the dark, it'll be identifiable. I echo all the comments that it is a very prominent property, commercial property, and it is kind of the gateway, first real commercial property as you go from west to east into San Marino. So I think it is, we do have to be very cautious of what that looks like. I don't think it warrants a denial. I think we can give a continuance to reduce the size and to not have an illuminated sign, and have the applicant and the applicant's client come back with that proposal to provide a better scale. That's what I would support. I have not heard alternatives from committee members that there is something else that they would be supportive of, let alone not have any signage at all. So I think giving an opportunity and not just outright denying the applicant would be at least an opportunity for them to make adjustments. Are there any other comments that committee members would want to see reflective of what would be coming back as a continuance, that there would be an acceptable form of signage, or it's just there's nothing that the staff, that the committee members could realistically approve on that corner?
Chair, I have a comment that could resolve the circumstance of whether we deny or we continue, and that's ask the applicant whether the applicant is amenable to a smaller sign and a sign that is not illuminated. If the answer is yes, that the applicant would rather go back to the drawing board and do something like that, then certainly I think it would be in everyone's interest that the matter be continued.
Okay. Is the applicant Lima still, Ms. Lima, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Do you have another comment, Committee Member Lakon?
Is the fonts, or is that something with the yellow star? Is that something else that can be altered?
No, that's a nationally recognized trademark. Actually, the entire name, DaVita Kidney Care, and the proportions that it's shown in, with DaVita being larger. I just wanted to clarify that the use of the facility, a home training facility, is not to train other employees. They're training dialysis patients how to give themselves care at home. So they do this nationwide. I've been working with them for about 19 years, providing signage at thousands of their facilities nationwide. They have regular facilities where patients come in and receive dialysis at the facility, but then they also have these home care or home training facilities where patients are taught to give themselves care at home. So it's a much smaller scale than one of their regular clinics, which normally occupy around 10,000 square feet. So it's not training for other employees. That's why it's called home training, because they're teaching the patients how to care for themselves at home.
So presumably there's a dialysis patient that lives in the city of San Marino and needs to get trained on providing dialysis for themselves. So they would go to this center to be trained on how to do so?
Right, or their caregiver who's working with them. But there are people who do it at home. So this is, like I said, a training facility for them to learn how to manage their illness.
Okay.
Can I add just one comment based on what Committee Member Lakon said?
Sure.
It is actually not within the scope of this committee to dictate either the font or the logo that's been established by the applicant as well. I just would like to clarify that. And I'd like to add color to that.
So, and that's my understanding too. What is within our purview is size and location and brightness if we can. But as far as the branding and design of the signage, that's not our decision.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Correct.
So Committee Member Lakon, is that clear to you? Okay. Just want to make sure.
Just want to check.
That's
It's,
why,
very
that's why
beautiful
we have staff.
building,
So you can
and I
check.
think that, yeah, okay.
All right, so I guess, Ms. Lima, would the applicant be amenable to a smaller sign that's not illuminated? Do you know?
Well, considering that the letters for kidney care are only about 9 inches, I think, and it's proportionate to the only DaVita, the D in DaVita is 2 feet. We could, I'm looking to, sorry, I'm trying to pull up, talk to you guys on one part and there is, instead of a stacked version that you're seeing on this drawing, they do have a linear version. So it spells it all out on one line. And maybe that would address your issue of the concern about it occupying the entire fascia as far as the overall height of it. So we could provide you with that layout. The problem with reducing the whole thing proportionate is that it would have to be proportionate because it's trademarked with those proportions. So that's something that I would have to talk to them about, because obviously if we reduce DaVita down to, I'm not sure what you consider an acceptable size, but let's say I reduce the D from 2 feet to 18 inches, for example, then that's going to dramatically reduce the kidney care letters and bring them down to, I'm guessing off the top of my head right now, but about 7 inches, I'll say. So therein lies the problem. So I would have to discuss that with them. But
Okay.
I did want to offer up that there is a linear layout that would
No, I
occupy
understand.
less vertical space.
I understand. And I guess given that your comment that you've done thousands of these, have you done it before for DaVita smaller and non-illuminated is the question.
Usually the smallest that we've done is when I want to say that they're about maybe 16 inches on the D. And yeah, we do non-illuminated and illuminated. Non-illuminated wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. So again, to my fellow committee members, I'd be amenable to a continuance to show us a smaller version with non-illumination, maybe even a mock-up of the fully linear size to see what that looks like. But because we don't have that before us today, we can't make any action or decision. So that's my feeling. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'd move to continue DRC 20-44 based upon the representation that the applicant's representative is weighing the potential of going to a non-illuminated and smaller version of the signage. And I just point out to the applicant that the matter before was denied simply because the person came back and said, no, I'm going to go with the original. And we were on the way of denying this one until the applicant indicated that they are amenable to revisiting the illumination issue as well as the size issue.
Thank you. Committee member with the Brody with the motion. Do we have a second? I'll second. Roll call, please.
Committee Member Chow,
Yes.
Committee Member Wong,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
No,
Committee Member Brody,
Yes.
Vice Chair Batnich,
Yes.
Chair Chang.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our next agenda item of the evening. Staff report, please. Agenda item number DRC 20-35. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Design Review Committee number DRC 20-35 is a request to install Certainty Landmark TL composition fiberglass in the Shenandoah color at 1812 Sharon Place. This material is found on the list However, it does not meet the prerequisite of having composition shingle materials installed on the existing roof. Currently, there is wood shake installed, but as you all are well aware, that material is no longer allowed. There are a few other homes in the neighborhood that do have a similar material. Staff finds that the material is compatible with the neighborhood and consistent with the building and recommends approval.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff from committee members? Seeing none, we'll, as the applicant present, if we can unmute Mr. Condi, please. There we go.
Apologize. Jim Condi. I'm one of the trustees. The house is owned by a trust. I'm one of the trustees. So,
Thank you very much.
my mom is elderly and lives in the home.
Okay, very good. Is there anything else you'd like to provide besides what the staff report stated?
Yeah, I take just a few moments of your time. So I'm working with Nick Campagna of Campagna Roofing, who installed this original, the existing roof 30 years ago. We need to go to something. The reason we didn't want to go with the concrete is we need to be able to walk on it. I don't know if that matters to you or not. I can screen share some pictures of the house if it matters to you, but there's a place.
We've all visited the site, so we're familiar with the uniqueness of the roof lines.
It's like the old house, and you can't see there's windows up there that provide light. And so to be able to paint the stucco or wash the windows, you got to walk on the roof.
Oh, wow.
Out those windows. This is the only way up there. Or if you go up the sides, even, you still have to walk across. So, and I'm pretty familiar with those shingles that we all like and look great. They look good, but they're pretty fragile.
Okay.
So that's why we went with the one that's on your second page of your list here.
Very good. Thank you very much. Is there any questions for the applicant from committee members? Seeing none, thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to comment about, against, or for this project? Seeing none, is there any that staff has received comments for, against, or about this project?
We have not received any, no.
Thank you very much. We'll close public comment portion at this time, seeing no comments, and move to committee member discussions. Committee member Chow, please.
Yes, I think I can support this project. No, the main factors always is, besides that, picking the appropriate roofing material is compatibility with the neighborhood. This particular block, the adjacent neighborhood is a mixture of different tiles and structures. So basically, yes, I think it's pretty straightforward and I can support it.
Thank you very much. Committee member Lakon. Go ahead.
I agree with committee member Chow. I could support the project. I think it's a unique roof, and I think this, of all the available roofs, I'm not sure of another one that would serve the purpose and replace a wood roof. So I'm hoping that our city is looking at more roofs to give us some more options in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member Wong.
I agree, it's fairly straightforward, and I want to add that given the fairly medium pitch of the entire structure, the roof by itself would not be that much visible anyway. So it is compatible with the neighborhood around it, so I can support the proposal.
Thank you. Committee member Brody.
Yeah, it's an excellent product. Certainty Landmark TL and their presidential TL product. We've run across before. Both of them are excellent products. So yeah, I can support it as well.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Banish.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. I can support this. I can support the roof, the color. It seems like a reasonable choice for this home.
Very good. Thank you. I agree with comments made. Do we have a motion?
I propose to approve a DRC case 20-11.
20-35, you mean?
35?
35, yes.
Yes, 35. No. Is it 35?
Yeah, 35.
DRC.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay.
You want to make a motion one more time for the record?
I propose to approve DRC case 20-35.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Vice Chair, Chair Committee Member Brody with the second. Staff, roll
Just
call.
the bald guy with the mustache. That's all.
No. Roll call for this. Getting later.
Committee Member Chow,
Yes.
Committee Member Wong,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Brody,
Yes.
Vice Chair Batnich,
Yes.
Chair Chang.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our next agenda item for the evening. Staff report, please. I'm sorry, Eva, you're very faint. Eva or Marlon, are you there?
I'm here, yes. Oh, Eva, you're muted, sorry.
That would explain why. Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. This is how it should work, right? So the next agenda item is design review case number DRC 20-11, located at 1390 San Marino Avenue. The property owner is requesting to install certain landmark TL product in the color of autumn blend on the home. The home currently has natural wood shake, and as you know, the city has since banned the use of natural wood shake as a complete re-roof on a home. Within the legal neighborhood, there are both natural and synthetic roofing material. Actually, there is a metal roof right next door to this property. Staff is able to support this request because the existing roof form is not highly visible from the street view. The roof is a medium pitch roof and providing a minimal slope that further increase the dimensional appearance of the proposed product. This particular product has a 3 layers overlapping installation, so it has create a false volume appearance that closely resemble the natural wood that you see. The color proposed is an autumn blend color. It is compatible with the color scheme on the home currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff from committee members? Committee Member Lakon.
The one color that we have on the pre-approved list is the country gray. Is that correct?
That's correct for this material, yes.
And is country gray a option for this house, or do you find that it doesn't go with the color scheme of the home?
I believe the country gray color would be a little too dark for the color scheme of the home. However, being that the home has a medium pitch roof and it's not highly visible from the street, the distinction would not be very obvious. But the better fit will be the proposed autumn blend color.
Is there other autumn blend in the city, or do we have mostly country gray?
We have mostly country gray simply because applicant proposed to use a color that is already on the list.
But we don't have it on the list because we feel that it best replicates a wood shake look. That's what I'm wondering. I thought we have that because it looks most like wood shake. Is that correct?
At the time this particular product was added to the list, I don't know the history as to why this particular one color was selected and not other available colors. So I don't have a comment to that.
Any other questions for staff? None. We'll move to the applicant. Is the applicant present?
Yes, my name is An, A-N, last name Lee, L-Y. I'm the son of 1390 San Marino.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Is there anything you want to state beyond what we've already discussed?
Basically, the reason I picked the shade because of the, I don't know if you can see, let me see if you can see. Oh, cannot see, huh?
No, it's hidden in the background.
Oh wait, how does it go? The autumn blend is exactly where on the sample of the presidential shake, the sample, and they show a picture with the white wall and the brown shade, and then the roof tile. because that's the color we're gonna paint for my father's house later on. So it will fit exactly. So the neighbor seems to like it too when I show them the picture with the sample.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the applicant from committee members?
I have a question. Oh.
Committee member Lakon?
What the roof right now, I know that a lot of people have been out because of COVID, but I drive past that house all the time, and the current roof on the house right now is, they're saying it's wood shake.
No, it's a concrete. There was wood shake before. No, it's been changed several times. The last one is right now is concrete tile, but every time the people go to the roof to fix the air condition, which is gonna be tomorrow, and we had a headache because every time they go up, they crack the tile, and no one want to fix it because they're not the tile people. The roof tile people cannot just go and fix couple. They're gonna charge us an arm and a leg. So for all this year, everything happened on the roof. No one want to touch it. So that's why it's so frustrating.
Yes.
So once I find out the city approved this presidential tile, my father said, let's change it. Otherwise, no one gonna service our roof, anything on the roof, you know?
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, we'll close and move to the public comment. Any members of the public who'd like to speak about this project for or against?
Yeah, I'll make the first comment. I think it's.
Sorry, Committee Member Chow, we're at public comment portion right now.
Oh, sorry, I misheard.
No, that's okay. Marlon, there was no received comments from the public either, to staff?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No additional comment.
Thank you. Seeing no public comments, we'll close public comment portion and move to committee member discussions. Committee Member Chow, please start.
Thanks for coming back to me. So yes, I'll make it quick. I think this is definitely a fine project to improve the property, so I can approve it.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Banish?
I'm not sure about the color either, but I will listen to my fellow committee members and probably will be amenable to what the consensus is.
Thank you,
I do like the country gray color. I think it's more appropriate, but after hearing what the applicant said, it makes some more sense. That's it.
Committee Member Brody?
Yeah, and I think one of the problems that in the first iteration that brought about, I should say, the first iteration of the Design Review Committee was that people were evaluating choices of the applicant based upon their own feelings about what they would want to have done. And actually, what I try to do is stay within a range of acceptability and understanding that, yeah, I'd like to go with product A over product B, but they're both acceptable. And that's the situation here. So I can approve certainty presidential TL in the autumn variation, even though maybe the gray might be a little nicer if it was my own home.
Thank you, Committee Member Brody. Committee Member Wong?
I find this out with an even flatter roof. So again, it is even less visible from San Marino Avenue. In any event, it is a fine product, and I find it very compatible both in the overall tone with the property as well as with the neighborhood. So I can approve that.
Thank you. And Committee Member Lakon?
Okay, I can support it also. I agree with the other committee members tonight.
Thank you so much. I agree. I think it's a good, again, we stand by the product. It is on our pre-approved list. And with the comment made by the applicant that they're going to repaint and match effectively what they saw in the brochure, I think that's a very handsome appeal. And I think it'll bring a nice street appearance from San Marino Avenue. So I'd be in support of this. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve DRC 20-22.
Committee Member Brody with the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Committee Member Chow with the second. Roll call, please.
Committee Member Chow,
Yes.
Committee Member Wong,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Brody,
Yes.
Vice Chair Batnich,
Yes.
Chair Chang.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to our next agenda item of the evening. That's design review case number DRC 20-25, 1340 Old Mill Road. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. The applicant is proposing to construct a first and second story addition along with exterior modification to an existing two-story homes. Staff is able to make all of the required findings. That would also specifically include finding number 3, which is an error on your staff report. By error, I checked the no box when it really should be yes. Staff, again, majority of the home within the legal neighborhood are 2 stories. The structure will remain the same when you look at it from Old Mill Road. The addition is in the back of the home and is done appropriately integrated with the existing structure and style of the home. The color scheme is consistent with that style, and it will also be consistent with the existing material with the change of an exterior stucco finish, which the architect will provide additional information on if you have question on that. But in the staff report, I did provide a home with a similar stucco finish, which is the historical stucco finish for this type of home, the Tudor on Chelsea Road. And staff is able to support the project as proposed tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff from the committee members? Seeing none, is the applicant present? If we can unmute the applicant, please.
I'll be Marla. Do you see Marla? Okay. Oh, there she is.
Great. If you could please introduce yourself and state your name and address.
Ms. Felber, you've been unmuted.
Yeah, I'm unmuted, but actually Frank Tong would like to speak. The homeowners are here and they would like to speak first. Can you unmute?
Would that be Cynthia's iPad?
Yes, that's Cynthia's iPad, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Marlon.
Sure.
Go ahead, Frank.
No, we can't hear you.
He's been unmuted, but I'm
Yeah,
not
I
sure
see
why we
that.
can't hear him.
No, we can't hear you. Nope.
Is it possible maybe there's a device plugged in or?
Yeah, is there a
wireless?
headset plugged in or an plug plugged into the iPad? No, we still can't hear you. While you get that figured out, we can speak with Ms. Felber. Is that your name?
Yes, yeah. My name is Marla. So I first and foremost want to thank you all for hearing our project, and I would like to also thank Eva and staff for helping us through the process. The home is a Tudor revival with limited half timbering features in the front. It has a large gable with a steep slate roof. The addition is in the back of the property and is not seen from the street. The detailing in the addition is similar to the detailings in the front. The stucco being proposed is called Smooth Troweled Finish. The sample board that was included shows a slight wavy trowel markings into the finish. It is not the slick, smooth trowel as you may associate with the historical name, but not necessarily with the look. The new windows that will be custom made are Marvin windows to match the existing windows. The new roof will be natural slate to match the existing. No trees are being removed, and the closest trees to the addition is 12 feet. And thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Cynthia and Frank, do we resolve it? No.
No, we still can't hear you. Sorry.
So I just would like to, maybe I should just jump in. Cynthia and Frank are long-term residents of San Marino. They've lived in the area for 26 years. And I have been working with them for the last year and a half very diligently. They are very committed to the house. They are very committed to keeping it historically correct. That's why I actually was retained. This is my expertise, to be honest with you. I only work on historic buildings. I don't work on modern buildings or new. So their commitment to the project and the process is really been quite commendable. They hope to stay another 26 years in the house, and that is why the elevator is being added into the back of this project. I think I hit it. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from committee members for the applicant? Seeing none, we will move on to the public comment portion. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak for, against, or about this project? Seeing, was there any comments? Eva or?
No.
Okay. Eva, do
No,
we receive nothing?
we don't have any comment.
All right. And the homeowner, have you been able to get your voice audio to work yet? No, not yet. No, we still don't hear you. No, sorry. If we do have questions as we go through our committee member discussions, we can address them to Ms. Felber. We'll move on to committee member discussions at this time. Committee member Brody.
Yeah, I think this is extremely well done. And it's nothing but compliments to the architect on this. I wish they were all like this.
Thank you. Committee member Chow.
I also can support this project. I think the addition being in the back certainly helps to streamline the process. And having said that, the homeowner and the architect address many of the important issues, such as repurpose the some of the windows and really kind of keep the look and the quality of the home as its original, but to improve on it. So I can support.
Thank you. Committee member Lakon.
Yes, I could support this project as well. It's really nice to see a well-integrated historic renovation and addition and renovation. And I think that the attention to the back of the house is commendable. It's beautiful to see a property that's beautiful all the way around it. And one thing I noticed about that, the street is so historic itself, and all the houses are very grand. This house, it is a house that is going to enhance the whole neighborhood, the value of the whole neighborhood. So I really, I think this is a great project, and I could support it.
Thank you very much. Committee member Wong.
Yes, the applicant is adding 377 square feet. Despite the small percentage of the entire property, the plan is well conceived and adhere very well to the needs of the users, and the plan itself explained that really clearly. And also attention has been given to the exterior and the facades and the like. So I really commend my colleagues the work done by both the owner and the architect, so I can support the project.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Banish.
Yeah, it's a beautiful addition. It's very well integrated into the main home. It was done with a lot of sensitivity. It's really nice to see all those neighbor approvals. You know, that was like the icing on the cake. I would be able to approve this as it is being presented to us tonight.
Great, thank you so much. I agree wholeheartedly. I think everyone's comments are in line with my thoughts. You know, oftentimes we have homes that may be not so visible from the street, you know, and elevation-wise, they take freedom and free reign to make additions as they see fit, to you know, basically build as large as they can. I think the architect and the homeowner has done a great job of paying respects to the existing home, the heritage of the home, as well as the architectural details, and I would be able to support it this evening. Do we have a motion?
I
I'll make
propose.
a motion to approve DRC case
Committee. Just something I'd like to note before that, because we do have a full committee today of all 5 members, alternate committee member Chow does not get a motion or a vote.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Committee
then-
Member Wong, do you have
Yeah,
a,
I'll then propose to approve DRC case 20-43.
thank you very much. Do we have a second?
Second.
Committee Member Lakon with a second. Roll call, please.
Committee member Wong,
Yes.
committee member Lakon,
Yes.
committee member Brody,
Yes.
vice chair Batnich,
Yes.
chair Chang,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next agenda
Thank you.
item. Thank you so much. We'll move on to the next agenda item for the evening. DRC case number 20-23 and DRC 20-45 for the same address at 2305 Robles Avenue. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Design Review Committee cases 20-24 and 20-45 are 2 separate requests. The first to make exterior modifications to the home, including installing shiplap siding and replacing the existing windows with new windows without grids. The applicant is also requesting, as part of the second request, to install a short 2.5-foot landscape wall along the front property line. Staff finds that the changes to be compatible, save for the shiplap installation of the siding and the lack of grids on the windows, and recommends that a condition be added to maintain those traditional features found on the home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff from committee members? Being none, is the applicant present?
Yes, the homeowner, Christopher Tran, is present. I believe his architect, Ben, will be speaking on his behalf.
Great.
Hello, my name is Ben Regal. I'm an architect and working on Chris and Millie Tran's house on Robles. And I just wanted to address the question of the grids on the exterior, for the windows. My clients have loved this neighborhood and love the style of the house. It has a dramatic roof line, which is quite steep, and they're really interested in keeping the footprint of the house, the appearance of the house, the existing sequence of the house, but they are interested in of course, modernizing the appearance of the house. That included installation of a horizontal shiplap siding instead of a overlapping clapboard siding, as well as new windows that don't have grids in them. Part of this is, the windows obviously are, the way in which we interact with the house, both from the exterior, the appearance, but also from the inside out. And my clients really wanted to have a kind of a more open feeling, more connected feeling between the interior and the exterior, without the kind of grids that from the inside out can create that sort of barrier to the exterior. And to some extent, the shiplap siding, which was flush siding, we chose to use a thick artisan siding from Hardy that does, installs without the use of corner trims to most match the construction of a thick wood board siding. And understand the committee's desire to have to lap siding instead of just shiplap. But again, it goes similar to the desire for the serenity of the windows without the grids. There is a desire to have a sort of a smoother and more contemporary feeling to the house, without changing the character of the house, without changing dramatically changing the exterior appearance, just sort of refreshing it, kind of updating its spirit. But of course, we respect the staff recommendations. We respect the findings of the board. So thank you very much for your time. And I really want to thank Marlon. He helped us. This is my first time in the city of San Marino, he helped really kind of walk me through this. So thank you very much, Marlon. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from committee members for the applicant?
I do.
We'll start with committee member Wong.
Yes, applicant, on Schedule A 2.6, point 8.03, it's set to have a skylight in the basement. Is that an existing skylight or is it an addition? If it's an addition, is it kind of visible in a way through the roof?
I'm sorry, I think that note accidentally appeared on the basement plan. It's a new skylight on the second floor, obviously, in the roof. It is on the back side of the roof, so it's not visible from the street.
Got it.
Thank you. Committee member Chow, you had a question?
Yes, a couple quick questions for the architect. On your Schedule A 2.4, if I understand correctly, you're proposing, or the applicant's proposing, removing some of the details, if not all the details, from the front dormers, like the wood details. And also, not sure if it's on the same page, but also paint the chimney brown as opposed to keeping its original brick as is. Can you just kind of take us through your thoughts there?
Sure. I think in general, there is a color palette for the exterior of the house. So we'll address both of those separately. First, the brick. There is a brick on the front of this house. The house has a number of different siding materials on the front. And we are proposing to paint the brick, not a kind of a dark charcoal gray that will unify the color of the brick, but also tie it into the windows that are being installed, which have a dark frame. So we're trying to shift the color tones of the house, which are kind of white and red right now, towards more of a neutral palette of white and dark gray. And so that's the painting of the brick. There are 4 corbels on the front of the house in one arched way. And we are proposing that those be removed. They are part of a system of attic venting that is happening, and are part of our interior modification of the house is to actually vault that section of the roof. And so that part will be enclosed. And so we're proposing that in that one section, which has a mix of horizontal siding and some diagonal boards, which will kind of appear in that one spot, that we would be removing those corbels. Yes.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant from committee members? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll open it to public comments. Is there any members of the public who would like to speak for, against, or about this project? Or if we've received any via email to staff?
We have not.
Thank you. Seeing no comments from the public, we'll close public comment portion and move on to committee member discussions. Committee member Wong.
Thank you, Chair. I find the neighborhood is really a very beautiful area with windows with grids or LED window with diamond patterns and the like. With the applicant proposing to change out all those characters and also change all the sidings of the facade, as well as to paint the chimney into a more uniform color, I am quite concerned that it would be a totally different building. It would not be compatible to his neighborhood, and I have a big problem with that. Second of all, I personally am not sure why is there what's a practical reason for the 2.5 feet landscape wall behind the hedge in the front. Maybe the applicant can shed some light to it. But if those plans were not well maintained, at least you have some lawn. But with that low wall, then you are seeing some strange wall right there. I personally do not quite get that. So that is my the reservation. So as a whole, I think, despite what I heard from the architect, I think the whole building is as if it has been rebuilt from the look from the outside, and I have a big problem on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Committee Member Lakon.
I have similar feelings that Peter has. I think that artistically it's a beautiful house, and I feel like there's somewhere where they're going with this project, a look that they want, and I think all different styles of houses are beautiful, and I think this could be a beautiful house, but we really have to respect the compatibility of the neighborhood. The street is very intact, so the streetscape is very important, and how this house presents with the other houses. They're very wide and similar styles and traditional. So the way this house sits, it's going to stand out, and it's going to break the streetscape. And I think that's something that we can't. That's why we have a committee. I think that's something we have to be careful not to do. To come with the committee recommendations to put grids in the windows, I think is not really the look that you're looking for. And I don't want to redesign a house that is something that is, I might not understand it, but it's a look that I know that artistically they're going for. So I don't want us to redesign it and have the design look worse because we put grids in the windows just for the sake of putting grids, because that's not going to make it compatible. It's the whole picture. It's the paint and the windows and removing all of that English country, detail that makes it fit in with the neighborhood. So I wouldn't be able to, I can't make the findings to approve it design-wise. And also for the wall, I agree exactly with Peter. Our design guidelines specify that we want an open space. We don't want to close it off. And we recommend you, if you're going to put some kind of wall, that it's back the minimum of 5 feet. I think that the length of that wall is different. You don't have a center walkway. You have a full long horizontal massing, and I think that that's going to be a lot of concrete. Assuming that hedge stays there, but maybe it doesn't stay there because the hedge doesn't have to stay there. So I would not be able to approve the wall based on compatibility as far as the material is not compatible with the neighborhood or the street. I wouldn't be able to support the project tonight. So thank you. I understand it's a hard process. It's hard to come here and when you've never been here before and understand what the committee is looking for. So I think I appreciate you coming. I hate to say that I can't support it, but currently I can't.
Thank you, Committee Member Lakon. Vice Chair Banish.
I feel very similarly to my colleagues who spoke before me. I tried to have, our residential design guidelines make a point that, we really should make room for innovative, good modern architecture. And I even thought, although the neighborhood is very traditional in feel and is full of very charming homes with a lot of architectural detail, I still thought that maybe the position of this home and how it's set up, because it's a little bit hidden, maybe this could work. But really, when I went through it, I think what's going to happen if this is built according to these plans is that it will look like a charming traditional house that was stripped of its charm and kind of some modern elements thrown on there. And I don't think it's going to work. And I also applaud, someone trying to do something new. But I think that maybe what they're going for is a home in Los Feliz or Eagle Rock or something like that. And it's just not going to work on this house. And I I'm not sure if it is going to be continuable, because I don't know if it can really just be clawed back here and there. Oh, fix the grids, and it's not about the grids. If we put grids back on the windows, it's just going to look like a modern, even more so, a charming traditional home that we sort of slapped on a lot of very, recent architectural elements kind of slapped on it. I don't think it's going to work. If there are committee members who want to make a pitch for this coming back and really, really convince those of us that this can be, come back to us in one or maybe two meetings, I will try to keep an open mind and listen. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Committee Member Brody.
Yeah, when I first looked at this, and I don't mean to be derogatory, but it just came to mind, if I had to put a name for this project, it would be Chip and Joanna Gaines Wannabe tries to bring Waco and shiplap from Texas to San Marino.
I said Waco.
Waco, yeah. Hey, this fails miserably. There's no hope for this thing on a continuance.
I'm sorry, did you say that you, in the beginning, that you didn't want to be derogatory and then continued to be derogatory to the design?
It's just my personality.
Just checking.
In any event, this.
Sorry, I tried to keep it civil, but once I start getting insulted, it becomes really hard to.
Well, the design is insulting. It misses the boat entirely. It's not even close. It's so incompatible that if I was to put an example of what incompatibility is, this would be a great example. So I cannot support this, and I cannot support a continuance.
Thank you. Committee Member Chow. I'm sorry, Committee Member Chow needs to be unmuted, or can you unmute yourself, Committee Member Chow? Thank you very much.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
So I think the feedback so far is very clear, and I second with many of the comments. The street, this neighborhood is beautiful. As committee member Wong first pointed out, that's kind of my first reaction when I stopped by the neighborhood. And my second thought was also, as Vice Chair Batnich pointed out, is like, okay, what can we do? Is there a way to kind of compromise to make it happen? But my concerns, based on what I see, I think it's a little bit hard without requiring a little bit more time. I'll be a little bit more specific, can be a little bit redundant, repetitive. Like, details like the diamond, brick diamond in the front. To me, I think that says so much about the history, the charm of the property, the clapboard siding, that's the charm. Windows, grid or not, of course, currently the grid building, just like next door building. When you look at it, it's beautiful and charming. I personally don't see the benefit of stripping away the beautiful chimney without seeing the brick themselves. I think that's kind of not really great to the house. So as to the wall, the landscaping wall, I can go either way. I think the benefit of that is definitely more from inside looking out. I really don't see a great benefit just from, I have a little bit problem understanding it, but I can live with that, so to speak. So I think our position, our comments, feedback so far is clear, and that's my current thinking.
Thank you very much. And Committee Member Wong, right? Have you spoken yet?
I've spoken already.
Okay,
I've
I'm
spoken,
sorry,
sir.
I lost track. It's getting late, and I'll make my comments. I agree with a lot of comments that have been made. I think the home is not compatible with the additions proposed. The home is not compatible with itself, nor is it compatible with the neighborhood. It's not to say that I don't see that there is a direction and vision that the architect and the homeowner have, but as far as execution, I think it's still lacking. I think there's still a lot that has to be done. You know, the specifics of the home, you know, you have these shed dormers, you have a farmhouse style with kind of a ranch style kind of elevation, and how you bring that and make that modern is going to be tricky. And I think to pick and choose of what you're going to touch and what you're not going to touch is not going to get it done. I specifically feel that the windows without the mullions and the dividers won't work for the house. I think the divided lights, typical of the style of the home, needs to be there. And I also feel that the proposed wall at the front of the home will also not add to the overall compatibility of the neighborhood. I can't say that the design is not something that can be refined, that could come back, but I'd be hard pressed to say that I see anything that's approvable in the short term. So I'll wait to see what motion there is, and we'll go from there. Is there a motion?
Yes, there is. I'll move to deny DRC 20-24 and 20-45.
Committee Member Brody with the motion. Do we have a second? Committee Member Lakon with the second. Roll call, please.
Committee Member Wong,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Brody,
Yes.
Vice Chair Batnich,
Yes.
Chair Chang,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to our next agenda
I just
item.
want to say thanks for your constructive time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next agenda item. That'd be agenda item design review case number DRC 20-09 2370 Monterey Road. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Design review case DRC 20-09 is a request to construct a first and second story addition to an existing single story home located at 2370 Monterey Road. The first floor addition will total 441 square feet, and the second story will be 771 square feet. The colors and materials on the proposed addition will match those found on the existing home. However, staff finds that the proposed second story addition is incompatible and recommends the committee continue the request to allow the applicant to redesign to better integrate the roof line found on the home. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Is there any questions for staff from committee members?
I have a question.
Committee Member Lakon?
Well, I guess maybe it's the applicant, I'm not sure. Regarding the front wall in the drawing, the front wall is it going to be replaced or is it the same one?
The applicant is present. I believe they can answer that.
Okay, that's not for staff. Okay, sorry about that.
Is there any other questions for staff from committee members? Seeing none, is the applicant present?
Yes.
Yes, if you could please state your name and address.
My name is Xiaoxi Shan. My address is 2370 Monterey Road.
Thank you very much. If you could please just briefly describe to us the project outside of what we've already discussed and we've already reviewed the plans, but if you have anything to add.
It's my first meeting at the presentation of this architectural plan and my addition. So after I see the rendering of the building, both my wife and I love the existing plan and want your committee to take a look. We would love to go forward, move forward as it's designed now.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Do we have
And
any?
also,
go ahead.
Sorry. And also my architect, Gary Jer, is next to me.
I'm right here.
He's my architect.
Okay, great.
I'm with the owner. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. Do we have any questions for the architect or the homeowner from committee members? Committee member Lakon?
Yeah.
Should I go? One question. That the gate that you have, the wall. I'm sorry, the concrete wall, the stucco wall, in the front around the courtyard. You have one there currently, and now there's one in the plans. Now it looks almost the same, but it's not quite the same. Are you planning on changing it, or is that the one that is already there? Are you
talking about the
Are you
gate?
building? Is it a new wall that you're going to build, or are you planning on keeping the same wall?
Oh, it's gonna existing wall. We're gonna finish this to match existing.
So I notice on one side of the wall, it's much higher in your plans than it is in real life. So do your plans want to have a higher wall in the front yard?
The wall, the front appearance will not be changed. Everything will be remain in.
So the drawing is in error. It's a mistake. The drawing of the new house, because the plans have to be, exact, or else that's what we approve. So
I'm sorry, it shouldn't be mistakenly drawn. It should be, where, may I ask which part of the wall?
the east side of the gate.
East side. Okay.
In actual, it has a slight slope going down in the design.
Side. If I'm standing the front of the property, if I look at the house, which side, right hand side or left?
The left is
The
lower
left.
in real life.
The left. In other words, you're talking about that small courtyard of the entry.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, the building itself, when I do the building elevation, I didn't draw that wall at the front.
So it's going to be a new wall at a new height.
Existing, whatever is there, the front yard, I didn't touch it. Whatever is there, is there.
Okay, because the drawing has to be the same as what's going to be there, or else we're approved. I mean, we're not approving it, but if we were to approve it, it would be the wrong one. So we have to be clear on what, it has to be accurate.
In the elevate, I mean, the landscape drawing L1 shows pretty much everything.
Oh.
The last sheet.
Okay, they need to be the same though. Okay.
I know, but what I'm saying, when we do the building drawing elevation wise, we didn't draw the wall in the courtyard wall because we show the buildings.
Okay.
So in other words, that's on purpose, not showing, we're just showing the building itself.
Right, but that isn't the same wall height that is currently there.
It should be the same. We feel we have a field trip. We have our CAD person did the drawing from the field.
Okay. Yeah, well, in reality, it starts higher and it goes down on the other side. So it's not, I was just gonna ask, that's why I just wanted, because the new one you're proposing is higher. So it'll close off the courtyard.
Committee Member Lakon, if I may ask,
Let's
are you
move on.
referring to the, oh, okay.
You can go ahead.
I was going to ask if you were referring to the elevations or to the rendering, because I think what the architect is trying to say is that on the elevations that you're seeing, the wall that you're referring to isn't drawn on there because they wanted to show the home.
Yes.
The wall that encloses the courtyard in the front is not shown on the elevations to see the details that's shown on the front of the house.
Yes, okay. I saw it somewhere and it was higher, so that's what I was asking.
At least I can tell the rendering did show that left side wall around the curved iron gate is higher than what it physically is. So I think that may be the confusion from the 3D rendering. With a L-shaped turnaround to the shared boundary with the neighbor, that was very visible on the left side of the house when I'm looking at the house.
So Krista, Committee Member Lakon, is your concern addressed by But it appears and sounds that the homeowner is not going to be touching that wall. We can, if there is a condition, that can be the condition that it's not touched unless you want to see it touched.
Oh, no, I don't want to see it touched. I'm just asking for, because I noticed a few of the things in the plans that are not accurate, and I wanted to see the details, because I think it's important when you have a house like this that you want to get it right when you bring the plans, so that we are sure what we are looking at is accurate.
All right. Are there any other questions for the applicant from committee members?
I have one.
Committee member Wong.
Look at the drawings at the backyard. The applicant seems to be putting a wood deck on where the existing garage is rather than recovering that with lawn. Is my understanding correct?
The existing garage,
You propose to put a wood deck there in your new plan. Is that correct?
yes. Yeah, and then we're gonna demo the existing non-conforming garage.
And you're not putting grass there, but a deck.
A deck.
The deck.
Okay.
Deck is just like a level up, because the lot is sloping down towards the south. So putting up a deck can level up with the grass area between the house and the deck.
Does that deck need foundation, or is it very simple work? Or can you pile it up with dirt to make that area grass or plants?
The deck area is going to be supported by foundation, and then along north side of the deck is going to be a grassy area connecting with my house.
Yes. Do you have a deck on top of your new garage?
No.
No.
Does it say that on top of the garage? I saw it said deck on top of the garage. No?
No, it's not. The new garage is on the other side of the,
Right.
the oak tree.
There's no deck.
No deck at all. Yeah.
How confident do you feel that, because you're on a very busy street with a curve, and this traffic from South Pass is coming quickly right there. Traffic is coming very quickly. Notice the houses on that street all have driveways where you can pull in and then turn your car around and head out with your front. How do you feel when you move that garage? Do you feel confident that 4 cars can come in and get out safely? Because you're proposing a 4-bedroom house, so I'm assuming there's going to be 4 vehicles. And how can you exit safely? I'm just curious what the turnaround ratio will be back there.
Thank you. At the moment, we always back up since there's no driveway in front of my house. My neighbor north side of the Monterey Road, their driveways on the other side of the street. So I don't have problem backing up today with my, I have 3 cars. Also in the future, the garage, even the garage is facing directly towards the street. There's still a backup space we created next to the grassy area for us to head to the street.
Okay.
If there's a driveway of one neighbor pointing to our driveway, that might be a problem. But since we've been living here for 4 years, moving from South Pasadena, we don't feel a problem backing up our car now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for committee members for the applicant?
Okay.
Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll move on to public comment. Is there any members of the public who'd like to speak for, against, or about this project?
We do have Marjorie present who would like to speak. She would also like to clarify that the committee members received and read her letter dated August 19th.
Sure. She's present in?
Yes, I am.
Great. Marjorie, if you could just state your full name and address, and then please feel free to make your comments.
My name is Marjorie Peterson. I live at 2390 Monterey Road in San Marino. I'm 2 houses east of his house, of the house we're talking about.
Okay.
I disagree with having turnaround space and backing out of a driveway, because a lot of times I've tried to back out and they come so fast down the hill. And even turning around the other day, you can't get out. You don't have enough time. So you're always stopping cars. And a lot of times the traffic is backed up past my house at the signal. Anyway, I wanted to know if you did get my last letter.
We did receive them, yes.
Okay. Well, I don't think this house, the way he has, the way it is facing the street does not comply or is not comparable with other houses in the area. All the other houses have balconies in the front and, and they're big windows in the front. And not only that, the addition is very far back in the house, very far back from the front of the house. And all our houses aren't built that way, but, it even overhangs the new addition. So it's like he's made it even further back. But I think the back of his house does comply or is compatible with the rest of the neighborhood. It's beautiful. The front is not very good looking. We have a lot of small windows and a lot of roof lines, and it's not very attractive.
Thank you very much. Do you have any further comments before we move on?
Well, I did send you pictures of some of the other houses that were on, the other 2-story houses that were asked if they approved this or disapproved it, because a lot of the houses are only 1 story, but all of them you can see they're basically have the same unique things. And the detail that he said he was going to put on, what was it, 4.2, the railings and that, all of that is in the back. He doesn't have any of that in the front because they're little bathroom windows. And there's no balcony, of course, off of any of those because, anyway, it doesn't look anything like the rest of our houses. So I don't see how it can be said it's compatible. It looks to me like they took a box and set it at the back end of the house,
Thank you very much. Is there any other members of the public who'd like to make comments?
Yes, Ms. Shirley Jagels is present and would like to speak as well.
Great.
Hi. Thank you very much. I'm sure you can all hear me. I'd like to thank the DRC commissioners for your service and your attention to this proposal and all of the agenda items. I think community engagement is very important. I'm Shirley Jagels, founder of San Marino Heritage, and I live at 1404 Wilson Avenue. And actually, I'm just across the street from Urmston Place, where the applicant did a project or somehow is involved with 2120 Urmston. But with regard to this particular project, I just want to say that community engagement is critical, and I applaud Marjorie for bringing in her concerns to the city and to the community and to the staff with regard to this project. I have a Facebook following with San Marino Heritage and preservation-minded people that reaches over 900 people, can reach thousands of people on a short amount of time. And so if I go over 3 minutes, which I don't plan to, but if I did, I would request your consideration. Anyway, with regard to this legal process, I believe it's important that we all have all the information, and it's to make this meaningful and relevant and transparent, I feel that there's a big concern in this city with regard to this project and every project where the legal neighborhood is presented with records that are illegible, way too small to read. And the same thing happened not only with Michael Shang here, and I know he's communicating, which is great. But another project right here at 1408 Wilson, I, as a neighbor 2 doors down, I received and our family received an insulting communication with regard to the records, in the fact that the plans that are presented for our consideration are microscopic. And these are potential historic resources. And the DRC, the Planning Commission, and the City Council must think of the whole community. And I know you are all very sensitive to us, and we appreciate that. So those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public on the list that would like to speak? Seeing none, we will close the public comment portion and move on to committee member discussions. I'm sorry? Eva, if you can mute the rest of the parties besides the committee members, that'd be appreciated. We'll move on to committee member discussions. Committee member Wong.
Thank you. I appreciate the applicant put together a 3D rendering, and that does help us visualize the project vision better, but unfortunately there's some confusion on the left corner of the end of the front of the house, but that is not really the critical point right here. What I'm seeing here is, number one, from the front facade, even though the addition is at the back half of the house, the roof line and also the second floor front facade is really strange. The window proportion from the first floor and the window proportion in the second floor are, I'll call it whimsical. That is how Disney and Universal would design to make the building actually look taller when they are not as tall. But I thought in San Marino, we want human scale. We want things to be proportional and comfortable. I'm also not sure having a bathroom window facing the street is a better idea than facing the back. The third is the addition of the balcony at the back. Obviously, there would be a lot of visual sightlines to the backyards of the neighbors, and I can see that happening in the front because some of the neighbor property does have that architecture feature. But at the back, I am not sure. I'm worried that I have something to do with privacy to some degree. And actually that may also add confusion to the roof lines and the entire massing of the property when you are looking at from the street. So I see a lot of issues here that is not making this proposal compatible to itself, and also make it not compatible to the immediate neighborhood. That is my current opinion.
Thank you very much. Committee member Cho.
Yeah, I think make sure I'm not muted, so I'm not. What helps me to see the project, to kind of visualize the project is A-4.5. To me, the design, the architecture just doesn't seem to sit quite right. It seems to have lost its identity, its architectural style. The roof line is definitely a big factor that contributed to that. So I think this is the case. I would say I see it probably going back to the drawing board, taking in all the feedback, certainly some of the feedback from the neighbors as well. I mean, look at the the adjacent buildings to see how the architect, the owners can kind of build from that. This house, I think, is pretty much the smallest house on the south side out of the 5-6 homes. So, and all the other homes are like 2-story homes, I believe. So I think there's definitely room to kind of build the additional square footage, but I just don't think the current architectural design is the solution.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Banish?
Yeah, I think Peter, excuse me, my fellow committee member said a lot of the things that I was going to say. I think the massing is off. It's inappropriate. I will say one thing I like about this design and really want to be encouraging to the applicant in this way. I think it was a good decision to keep the front facade the way it is, because it has some very nice characteristics that were worth keeping. However, it reminds me of a project that came in front of DRC. It must have been my first or second meeting 2 years ago, where it was essentially a similar situation, 1-story house, very traditional Spanish house in the front. And it looked like someone just kind of plopped a second house in the back that's kind of like, doesn't really complement the first house, which is very much worth complimenting. And I think, as my fellow committee member Wong said, I believe that this can be added on to. It just looks like it's a house behind a house. And it gives the appearance, the way it's set up, that it's just trying to squeeze as much square footage as possible into this lot. And I'm not sure if it's going to work. You never say never, because sometimes there is a way to, get a lot of square footage out. But when you already have a 1-story level in the front and you've got a lot that's not that big to begin with, and you're putting, a quite large massing behind it, there's nothing going to be left in as far as a, yard space or just space to move around. So I'm concerned that the massing is incompatible, as Committee Member Wong said, with itself and with the neighbors. I am afraid that this is a situation where I believe that this has to go back to the drawing board. I don't think we do house behind a house here. I believe that there's a lot of opportunity to design something actually very special, and I believe that this house can be added onto, but not in this way, not even close to this way, unfortunately. I agree also, I hadn't for some reason thought of this before Committee Member Wong mentioned that in the back, those balconies almost certainly are going to create privacy concerns. There may be some greenery that is protecting the houses, especially the house on the right as you face the facade at the moment, but that could change. I'm not really sure about the privacy concerns, but it looks to me like it is something that is worth mentioning, that there's not only compatibility issues to itself and the neighbors, but also the privacy concerns. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Committee Member Lakon?
Thank you. I agree that with my colleagues. I think the house could be added onto. I find that the massing is not compatible with the neighborhood at all. I find the roof line to be too messy, and it needs to be much simpler, like the other homes in the neighborhood. Cleaner lines and less different roof roof going on. There's too much. It needs to be more of a traditional Spanish colonial architecturally, because you're designing a home from 1925 in the historic Mission District. And those 5 houses, they're all about the same time. And I think that they have to work together nicely. So I think it's gonna be, you need to be very delicate when you remodel to make it compatible, to keep it compatible with the homes to your what direction is that? To your east. Those are all very compatible with each other. And that's what makes the Mission District so special. And that's why people pay to live in that area, even though their houses are so close together. It's because they're set in such a way that it ensures all the houses beauty all around and privacy. So it takes a lot of planning to build houses in that manner when you build so close together. So that's what I'm asking to take that into consideration. I think you're asking for a lot of the house to do a lot for that lot. You're asking it to be like more than it wants to be, and it shows in the house that you're trying to get a lot of bedrooms and bathrooms, and it doesn't look comfortable. So I think more care to the actual living in the house versus making it as many rooms as it can be would be nicer. I need the plans for me need to be very accurate. So if the front wall needs to be exactly what it is, if you're going to keep it the same, the drawing has to be the same. The finish, you're asking to change the finish or to keep the finish, but it's not a smooth finish right now. So the stucco would need to be an appropriate finish, not a flat or smooth one, and not that rough trowel that we don't like. So it'd have to be something historically appropriate. And the light fixtures aren't really, the light fixtures are kind of missing on the plans. I saw some in the back, and I didn't see one in the front anymore. I think that when you have a Spanish colonial, you have to have some variety in lighting. The front light is one style of light, but the accessory lighting in the back usually is something else. And I think that kind of little attention to detail makes those Spanish houses very special. And you also have that really charming weather vane on top of your chimney, which I don't know why it's there, but it's one of those Spanish galleons. It's pretty, I think that would be nice to stay on the house. And I guess my last comment would be about the roof line of the garage. It has a very high pitched roof for the garage, and when I see Spanish colonial that size, I picture a flat roof garage with just the perimeter in the clay. So I think the roof that is being proposed for the garage doesn't seem compatible with the house to me. So as of now, I would not be able to approve this project.
Thank you. Thank you, Committee Member Lacon. Committee Member Brody.
Yeah, I just would echo what has been said before. It looks like a variation of a pop-up with the house behind the house that the vice chair mentioned. You know, it just gives me the feeling that it was designed from the inside out, where they wanted a particular layout of where the bedrooms are, where the bathrooms are, and then they just slapped an exterior around it, rather than thinking through the entirety of the project. I love Committee Member Wong's comment about the windows being whimsical, because they are. They, you know, it's like, let's have this kind of window here, and wouldn't it be nice to have that kind of window there, even though they have no relationship to one another. I mean, this is the kind of thing that leads me to conclude that there is zero chance of achieving any kind of a resolution on this with just a simple continuance. I would vote for a denial of this project.
Thank you, Committee Member Brody. Yeah, I would echo a lot of the sentiments said, and specifically with the project that Vice Chair Batnish was referencing. I still remember, I think that was on Wilbury and Coniston, and that was another pop-up right in the Spanish style pop-up in the rear of the home. I think it was very, that came right to mind when I saw this design. You know, and then I come to think of the projects that we've had that are Spanish style in the Mission District that have executed second story additions very, very well. Another one that comes to mind, I believe, was on the corner of El Molino and Wilson that we approved. That was a very well executed two-story Spanish style that I think had a lot of good details that were retained, but yet achieved what the homeowners are going for. So I'm not going to add any more beyond what's already been stated. I think the architect and the designers need to go back to the drawing board and really evaluate how they're going to better integrate the addition to the architectural style so that the home as it exists is more compatible with what you're trying to achieve. And you've also heard the comments from your neighbors, so I hope you take that to heart. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to deny DRC 20-09.
Committee Member Brody with the motion. Do we have a second? Committee Member Lakon with the second. Roll call, please.
Committee Member Wong,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Brody,
Yes.
Vice Chair Batnich,
Yes.
Chair Chang.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we'll move on to our, I believe, our last agenda item for the evening. That's a project extension request, DRC case number 19-10. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. This extension request is for a project located at 1675 West Drive. The project was originally approved by the Design Review Committee back in May of 2019. Since then, the property owner has submitted the project for building permit. It went through the structural plan check process. The building permit was ready for issuance in January of this year. Soon after that, COVID-19 occurred, and the property owner is experiencing difficulty selecting a contractor to start the project. And for that reason, the owner is requesting that the DRC consider extending the project approval date by 1 year. Staff, as provided in the staff report, the City Council had adopted an urgency ordinance that effectively extend all of the planning project approval by 90 days. And that extra 90 day has been provided to this project. The project expiration day was August 1st of this year. For that reason, staff is recommending that the committee consider a 9 months extension, which will provide a new expiration date to the owner for May 1st, 2021 to pick up the permit. Thank you.
Very much. Any questions for staff from committee members? Seeing none.
The property owner is here.
Okay, that's very good. So if the applicant's present, if you could please state your name and address. Do we need to unmute the home?
Yes. Dear Jess, sorry.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, this is 1675 West Drive, San Marino.
And your name was?
Yeah, MIE.
Okay.
MIE.
Great, thank you very much. If you could, so we understand the circumstances. Is there anything you want to add as far as where you are in the process of finding a contractor and proceeding with the project?
We'll try to as soon as possible.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant from committee members? No? Seeing none? Okay. Is there any members of the public who'd like to speak for or against about this project, the extension? None? Seeing none, we'll move to committee member discussions. We'll start with committee member Brody.
Yeah, of course, without a doubt, everything's being continued. Just as a little sidelight, I'm in the business of jury trials. There are no jury trials in Los Angeles County in this year. And in my recent discussion with a couple of judges this morning, they're considering cutting out maybe the first 6 months of 2021 where there will be no jury trials at that time for the greater part, because they haven't figured out how to safe distance and mask people, and yet have the numbers of people in a courtroom necessary for the average jury trial. It's just extraordinary what's going on.
All right. Committee Member Wong?
I understand it is a very unprecedented period of time, and I have got similar feedback from the tray as well, so I think it is a reasonable request.
Committee Member Lakon? Sorry, if we can unmute, Committee Member, thank you.
I agree. I could support a continuation or extension.
Committee Member Chow?
Yes, I also think that with the extension of 9 months would be appropriate.
All right, and Vice Chair Banish?
I have no objection to the 9-month extension, just based on the fact that the applicant seems to have made, reasonable progress in the past year since they've been approved, and they just seem to need a little more time. But I will say that construction is moving along pretty much as normal, with a few extra steps and precautions involved. But yeah, absolutely reasonable to need more time in this case.
Thank you. Yeah, I would agree. I think given circumstances and hearing that the owner is making progress and attempting to begin as soon as it's feasible, they will. So I would move for that motion to approve the request. Do we have a motion?
I propose to approve DRC case 19-10
For a 9-month extension?
for 9-month extension as requested.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Vice Chair Banish with the second. Roll call, please.
Committee Member Wong,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Brody,
Yes.
Vice Chair Batnich,
Yes.
Chair Chang,
Yes.
motion carries.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's attendance this evening and all your time. I think that concludes our hearing. Is there anyone that's on that's staying for open forum? Hearing none. And Marlon and Eva, you have not heard of anyone coming on for open forum at this time?
How would we do an open forum in this?
It'd probably be a screen share and then two members staying on the Zoom.
Okay, you got it, my friend.
We did not receive any requests for open forum. However, just a few thank yous from members of the public.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you very much. And with that, we will adjourn for this evening. Thank you.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.